Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. We're thrilled to have you join us for our first ever live video AMA, or Ask Me Anything, here at Prodigy Finance. We're going to have a lot of fun over the next few hours. We're going to have different sessions with leaders from the organization, with people from offices all over the world. You'll meet people from our London office, from our Cape Town office, from our New York office, from offices in Bangalore and Delhi. We're thrilled to answer any of your questions, both with regard to the business and what we've built over the last 10 years on our quest to help the world's top talent achieve their goals, as well as some questions that you may have about our process, our products, or anything particular about your journey to school. Please do keep in mind that we won't be able to address specific application questions. If you do have specific questions on your application, please go ahead and sign into your Prodigy Finance platform. We have live chat agents standing by, or you can also always email us at info@prodigyfinance.com. Do be sure to add AMA in the subject line so our teams can quickly grab those requests and respond to you as quickly as possible. So just a little on the format of today. Every top of the hour, I'll be bringing us back together. Then we'll be going into two sessions. The first sessions will be with some of our market leaders. These could be in India, New York, or London, answering your questions about our product and process. And then at the half-hour mark, we'll chat with some of our leaders throughout the organization, give you an opportunity to ask questions about the organization. We've received already a ton of questions, and we will try to address as many as possible. And in the spirit of a true AMA, I'm actually going to kick us off here. We have a great question out of Nigeria, out of Abiodun, who asks, I'm a prospective international student from Nigeria. I have a co-signer in Nigeria. Will this help with my application? It's a great first question for us to kick off because it is really the root of Prodigy Finance. Prodigy Finance was started to be able to assess individuals on their own future potential. And so you absolutely do not need a co-signer, nor do we accept them. So we welcome you to apply on your own potential, and we look happy to serving you. So now I'm going to kick it over to Mindy in our London office, who's going to host our first chat. Thank you to the gentleman in India for joining us, and welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Joel, all the way from America. London office is greeting everyone who's already online. And we're super excited to have so many people joining already, and also super excited by the amount of questions we've received in anticipation of this webinar. So let's start off. So let's start with the first question, Rishabh. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what a typical day at Prodigy Finance looks like for you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mingy, for the question. So it's great to see so many people joining for this AMA from all over the world. And that's basically how my life looks like Prodigy Finance. Very, very international. So even today, right now, we have so many offices getting right now. Every day I have at least one catch-up or one meeting with someone from sitting in another office in another country or even another continent. And it's absolutely fantastic to be working with over 25 different nationalities from all over the world, serving 150 countries.
Amazing, thank you very much. And I think that's actually an excellent segue to our very first question, which is about our eligibility. So Rishabh, maybe you can explain a little bit about eligibility for our loans and what the eligibility criteria actually are to apply.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. So as Joel mentioned earlier while kicking off the session, that Prodigy Finance started by able to understand your post-master's potential and giving loans on that ability. So we can lend to all international students from the 150 countries we support, and we do not require or accept a co-signer or a collateral for our loans. We, however, find only selected universities, top 100 business schools according to the Financial Times, as well as the top 100 engineering as per the US News in the US, and a select few programs in law, medicine, and policy programs. So if you're attending one of those and you have an admit or you're looking to attend, you're absolutely eligible to apply.
Super, very clear. Thank you very much. And then over to the gentlemen who are dialing in from Bangalore. Nikhil, actually, does Prodigy Finance have an office in India?
Good question, Mindy. So we are actually sitting, Pritish and I are sitting out of a co-working space. We travel extensively. For those of you who've interacted with us in India, we have spent the first half of this year traveling every week across different cities in India. There are multiple ways for you to reach out and meet us. We host events practically every weekend, like we said, across cities in India. You can find all these details on events page. Sometimes it's a formal event with a presentation, Q&A. Sometimes it's more of a coffee chat. We encourage you to come in and meet us with your family and friends. All are welcome. We also host webinars every week. Again, that's all on our events page. Having said that, there's a reason why we deliberately do not have a physical office here. We have a headquarters in London, of course, where Mindy's joining us from. We have a New York office with our business development team. Very important. These are also relationship managers who you will see on campus twice every semester, right through your program, direct contact and direct relationships. We believe that's a differentiator for us. We go beyond just being a transactional lender. We are community driven. And we have a pretty large office in Cape Town where we have some colleagues joining us from today as well, where our entire operations and technology team is. And this is a team that you would be interacting with virtually. There are multiple channels to reach out with us. You know about email, of course, info@prodigyfinance.com. There are alternative channels for anyone who has an application or who has registered on our platform. There's live chat available 16 hours a day on all weekdays. Similarly, there is a toll-free and a contact number. You can call in from different parts of the world. And again, 16 hours a day on weekdays. We have a lot of WhatsApp groups. Again, you can find this on our website, which you can feel free to join. It's created by our teams. A lot of conversation, always active. So as we can share with you, we have multiple ways of reaching out with you. At the same time, we deliberately do not have an office. Think about it. We are a 150-member team serving 150 countries worldwide. We are a very proud fintech company. We have won awards in fintech every single year. The reason why we do this is we're keeping our own operations and headcount lean. What that means is all our cost savings are passed on to you in effect of the most effective and the best possible interest rate that you can possibly get. And that essentially works in your favor. And we believe it's a win-win situation for both the borrowers as well as ourselves as a competitive international lender. I hope that answers it.
Great. Thank you so much, Nikhil. That was a very good extensive answer of how we actually are able to operate on a global scale. That's really great. Thank you so much. And I think you already touched upon it briefly, Nikhil, but maybe Pritish can explain a little bit about our process and whether everything's done online or whether there's anything that's done in person. So Pritish, would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. So yeah, as Nikhil mentioned, we really want to empower everybody who actually pursuing their master's education. So the complete process is online. So in whichever part of the world that you are in, you literally log on to prodigyfinance.com. You select the supported program and university, and you start a 30-minute application. At no point during this application process, you need to meet someone from Prodigy Finance. It's completely digital. And that's how we support close to 120 plus nationalities across the globe.
Thank you so much, super clear. I'm just looking at some of the live chat questions that are coming through as we're getting a huge amount of questions. So one of the questions that we got from Manjusri was actually dialing in from Bangalore. Who would like to know that whether, the question is, will I be eligible to get a loan for life science subject like environmental forestry? Risha, would you like to take that one? Risha, I think your sound is off. Yes.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Happens to the best of us. So to the question here, coming from Manpreet, if your program is a STEM degree and the program is housed in an engineering school which is in the top 100 as per the US news, and you can check that list on our website as well, we can absolutely support your program. In case you do not see the program application live on our website, it's just a matter of you sending an email to info@prodigyfinance.com, and we'll make it live for you ASAP.
Great, yeah, that's really well in a nutshell how that would work for you. Thank you so much for answering that question, Rishabh. Then back over to Bangalore. Nikhil, we have a question from Abina who's basically saying, great job, Prodigy. The work you do enables some of us to get the education we could otherwise not afford. On average, could you perhaps explain how long the verification process takes? This one's for Nikhil.
Sure. So firstly, thanks, Sabina. Always great to hear such positive feedback. It's what gets us out of bed and into work every single day. So thanks for that. But getting back to your specific question, the verification process. On an average, the verification process takes 10 business days, which is more like 2 weeks from a calendar standpoint. Now, this is an average. We've seen cases where people have had the verification completed on the very same day. A lot of this depends on the nature of the documents that you provide, right? And more importantly, the document should match all the information that you provided us in your provisional offer. In that case, our verification team is literally checking off boxes and you'll be good to go. So like I said, the average time is about 10 days, 10 working days. But of course, if all your documentation is perfectly in order with your provisional offer information that you had filled in a 30-minute application, it will probably be sooner than that. So I hope that answers your question.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nikhil. That's very clear. Then back over to Pratish. So we have another question coming through the live chat from Torkuma, who's basically asking, what criteria do you use to select schools that we work with, and how often do we update our school database? Could you answer that one?
Sure. So basically, our investors look at the US News and World Report rankings as the criteria on the schools that we enlist onto our website. So currently, as my colleague mentioned, for engineering, it's the top 100 in the US, and for MBA, it's the top 100 in the world. And we update this pretty often, probably twice a year.
Great, super clear. And then over back to Rishabh. I think this is one of your favorite questions, and I know you're very passionate about this. Could you maybe explain to us in layman's term what does APR mean, and what is it?
Oh, absolutely. So for starters, APR stands for annual percentage rate. It is another term that we include alongside the interest rate. And from an overarching perspective, it's a financial tool for you to understand the true cost of your loan. I'll give you an example to help you understand better. And suppose you had two loan offers in your hand. One was a loan offer of the same amount with a 7.5% of interest rate, and there were no other fees involved. So 7.5%, no fee. In the other loan offer that you have, the interest rate is actually 7%, half a percentage lower, but there are a lot of fees involved. Now, as a layman, as someone who is not really used to financial terms and financial products, it might be challenging for you to understand which loan product might be a better deal for you. Is it the 7.5% with no fee, or is it just 7% with some fees attached to it? And that is where APR adds a lot of value, because what APR would do is it would essentially club your interest rate with all of the fees and make it into one single number. So if you have the APR for both the loan products, you can easily see, okay, if my APR is higher for product A, it in the end is going to be more expensive for me compared to an APR for product B. Now, Prodigy Finance always discloses the APR upfront, and it has two benefits for you. Number one, obviously, the fact that you know what is the true cost. And if you want to compare Prodigy Finance with other lenders, you can look at their APR and understand how we stand versus them. The second is there is no hidden cost when it comes to Prodigy Finance. By virtue of us sharing the APR, we include all of the costs into that calculation, and that would force us to not only tell you what is the true cost, but in the calculation, you know exactly what are the different charges you're paying for. So there are no hidden fees or charges with Prodigy Finance.
Amazing, super clear. I always admire how easy you're able to explain that to us. So back again to Nikhil, we have another question coming through the live chat, which is, so I have a loan approval for a certain amount, but while doing my master's, I realized that I do not need that much loan. Can I reduce the total loan amount sanctioned? So Nikhil, would you care to elaborate on that one?
Sure. So let's get a little bit more clarity about the way our loans and our agreements are structured. A Prodigy Finance loan agreement is typically for one academic year. For those of you who are pursuing any program that is anything longer than 12 months, you would actually have 2 loan agreements with us. What that means in all probability is, and I'm presuming that the candidate who's asking this question is in a multi-year program, longer than 12 months, the person in all probability has a pre-approved offer from us for his or her year 2 of studies as well, right? That pre-approved offer would be for pretty much a prorated or a similar amount as year 1, depending on the length of the program. It would always be at the same interest rate. But most importantly, that pre-approved offer gives you a lot of flexibility. So what this means is you are signing off on a loan agreement as soon as you reach your country of study. Let's say going off to the US, as soon as you get there, it's completely digital. We use Adobe EchoSign on my company. And once you do that, we countersign the loan agreement for that academic year, which is your year 1, becomes binding. That means 2 things. Prodigy Finance is legally bound to disclose that amount to you, and you as a borrower are bound to accept that amount. Having said that, if you were to realize, let's say, in your Sem 1, or maybe even in semester 2, when you're still in first year, maybe you got a scholarship after you joined, maybe you received some kind of assistantship, teaching, research, graduate assistantship, maybe both if you're lucky, then you got to let us know, right? What that means is, it's great, you've got that amount, feel free to use that to prepay any outstanding amount that you have against your year 1 disbursements that have already happened, right? That will in no way affect your year 1 loan because that is set in stone. That is an agreement we've entered to. More importantly, once you let us know, this gives you a lot of flexibility with year 2. You can come back to us and say, hey, you know what? I need 50% less for year 2. We can go as low as $15,000 per year in most US schools, right? So a lot of flexibility there to resize your loan for year 2. Of course, you've got to show us proof that you have, the balance amount from other sources coming in to bridge what is effectively your cost of attendance for year 2. As long as we see that, and we are totally flexible with giving you a lower amount for year 2, right? So that is where the flexibility of your year 2 pre-approved provisional offer comes in play, and that is effectively how it would work for any candidate in such a situation. So I hope that answers the question. I've made some assumptions based on where you're coming from, but I think this holds true for most of our candidates. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for answering that one. And then over to Pratish. So, similar question, but a little different, is Divakar, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, is asking, once I get confirmed loan offer for a certain program, if I then apply for a completely different program, do I have to start the entire process again, or can I just switch the programs?
Beautiful. Hi, Divakar. So, a couple of things. One is the beauty of Prodigy Finance is you can have multiple loan applications with us. And my assumption is that you have 5 dream schools, those 5 programs that you're applying for. So the quickest way is to start all 5 applications and receive 5 provisional offers. Let's say you anticipate this admit later. Yes, you can always drop in an email to us and you can start a fresh application. But the verification time in this case would ideally be shorter because we have already verified you for a confirmed loan for loan A, and loan B would be quite short. So yes, you can always write in and you can start a new application.
Amazing, thank you so much. And then back to Rishab. So we have a question from Mohammed, who's asking, my loan's been accepted and fully approved. When do I sign my loan agreement? If I can't be physically in the US on time, can I sign it remotely? And do any documents need to be shipped to me? How does that work?
Absolutely happy to answer. So the key point to bear in mind is that the whole Prodigy Finance process is fully online. And as Nikhil answered earlier, you would have an electronic loan agreement that is signed online. typically when you reach your country of education. So we highly recommend that you sign the loan agreement when you reach, if you're going to study in the US, the moment you reach US, please sign the loan agreement, and then we will be able to disperse the funds. A couple of nuances that come from your question. Number one would be, what if I want to sign it early? I would say a lot of those concerns came from the fact that either Prodigy Finance might change the loan agreement, or will the disbursements happen in time or not. So when it comes to the first part, if your loan has been approved, there is no reason for us to change your loan agreement because everything is set in stone. What we would actually also further do is, even while you're in your home country and are ready to reach your country of education, we would ship out your financial details, your loan details to the financial aid office of the university. So for example, if you were studying in London Middle School, we would reach out to the financial aid office of London Middle School and let them know well before you reach London that you have a loan with us, and they are aware that Prodigy Finance will be funding you and they will be expecting money from us. The same would be the case if you're going to US, say you're going to study Masters in Computational Science in Carnegie Mellon University. You would have reached out to the financial aid office and we would have let them know that you would be that we would be dispersing your funds on your behalf. And this process is called certification. Once your loan has been certified, the university feels comfortable that they are expecting money from us. And after the loan is certified, we make the loan agreement available for you to read even before you reach US. So say your loan is certified in June, you would have the loan agreement in your hand in June, you can read. And once you reach campus in August, you sign it electronically as long as the IP is on the country of education. And then we will make the disbursement 1 to 2 weeks after you have signed the loan agreement.
Lovely, that's super clear. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rishabh. So back to Nikhil. So I have a question from Bajoro, and again, sorry if I've mispronounced the name. What basically wants to know, I want to know if I can include accommodation fees on campus as part of my loan. Could you help explain that one, please, Nikhil?
Sure. So just to be clear, for all schools in the US, we're able to fund what's called the cost of attendance, which is the sum of tuition and living expenses. Now, this is as defined by the school. Of course, the tuition fees is transparent on the school site. And very often, the living expenses are also explicitly defined by the school. Some schools go to the extent, and feel free to look this up for your school, go to the extent of breaking up what living expenses comprise and what the typical amount is that an average student spends on accommodation, rent, such as rent, on living expenses, transportation, telecoms, grocery, the works, right? They'll break that up. And we accept the exact figure that we get from the school for living expenses. The chances are, and yes, pretty much in every case, your school would have given us what the school presumes to be the average cost of accommodation at your school, at that location, for that period of time of your course, right? And that is the exact amount that we will consider. Of course, it is possible that the actual amount may differ slightly depending on whether you choose on-campus or off-campus accommodation, and that is, of course, a personal decision that lies with you. But just so you know, the figure that you will see as cost of living is actually taking into account your cost of accommodation, which in turn has been provided to us by your school. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Nikhil. I think we have 5 more minutes before we hand over to the next speaker. So let me see if I can get in some more questions. This one's for Pratish. So Akhil wants to know, does a Prodigy Finance loan require a processing fee to be paid up front?
Good question, Akhil. So Prodigy Finance only has one fee. It's called an admin fee, and it does not need to be paid upfront. We build this into your loan account. So when your amount gets dispersed for the first time, that's the first disbursement of the year, it gets added to your loan account. So you need not make any payment until the repayment period kicks in, which is after study and grades.
Great, super clear. And then back to Rishabh. So there wasn't a name for this question, but it's a really good one, which is about the eligibility criteria. So if we don't take collateral, on what basis do we actually approve a loan?
I love the question, and this is one of the key reasons I joined the company, to be honest. So typically, if you take a loan from Prodigy Finance, if we do not ask for collateral, if we do not ask for co-signer, then we must be looking at some other way to understand how can you repay back the loan. Now, what we have is we understand how recruitment works, and we have data that tells us what is your post-master's income or what is your post-MBA income at the universities and programs we support. We get this data from schools themselves, but we also get more data from different government organizations. With this data, we have built proprietary data-driven risk models. A lot of cool data science going on, but we have built proprietary risk models that helps us understand and predict what your post income would be after you complete your education. If we can predict what your income would be, we can estimate a conservative estimate of the amount you can pay back every month. And that amount essentially becomes your EMI, that is your monthly payment towards a loan. And if we know how much you can pay back every month, then if we back calculate, we can figure out what is the total loan debt you can afford right now. And that essentially is how we figure out the loan size that is apt for you.
Great, thank you so much. And then again, over to Nikhil. Short and sweet question, what's a moratorium period? That's one of the questions we got.
Fair enough. So we encourage you to all look at our FAQs section. We have a very detailed glossary of terms as well. So we are headquartered in London, UK, and we use certain terminology which may not necessarily align with whichever country you're in. When the financial community in different countries, the federal banks in different countries may use slightly different terminologies. So just to bring us all on the same page, our understanding is moratorium period is something that's used often by the banking community in India. It essentially refers to the period of time that you are studying as well as your grace period when you're not expected to make any repayments on the loan, right? So working backwards, we define this period. We don't use the term moratorium, but essentially it is the same concept. Our definition of this period is your entire study period, which could be as long as 2 years, and all full-time candidates get 6 months of grace period after their classes end as well. So we could be talking about as long as 30 months, or what is essentially a moratorium period, when you are not expected to make any repayments on your loan. Now, I say this explicitly: when you're not expected to, we don't expect you to do make any repayments. We know you're studying, you're a student, you don't have an income. Your compulsory EMIs or monthly repayments will start in the 7th month after your classes end. We will be communicating this with you. You will know exactly how much you have to repay every month, and you will have multiple ways and channels to make that repayment. Having said that, just coming back to a very flexible offer that we have, which is if you choose to make any kind of repayment at any point after your first disbursement, whether it's when you're studying or during your grace period, right? This is essentially a prepayment. We do not penalize you for it. You can make a small amount of prepayment, and it can be done at any frequency of your choice. It is completely up to you. There are no penalties at our end. It will effectively reduce your loan balance outstanding, and therefore also reduce the interest that you leave on your loan. So we leave that to you as a decision, but just to let you know, yes, Prodigy Finance does have the equivalent of a moratorium period, which is your entire study period, could be as long as 2 years, and 6 months of grace from the time your classes end for all full-time candidates at programs worldwide. I hope that answers your question.
It does, certainly. Thank you very much. I think we have time for maybe one more question before we hand over to the next set of speakers. So just to wrap it up with Pritesh, so there's a question about, does the APR rate vary from university to university and from course to course?
No, it doesn't. It actually is based on your application. Just to add 2 cents to what Rishabh already mentioned. So APR is merely a tool of comparison, right? Every financial product or service in the world comes with additional fees. In our case, it's just one fee, which is an admin fee. So APR is just used to calculate this. right? So it's a comparison tool. It's to compare apples with apples. In our case, lenders versus lenders. So if you have any other options, or if you're looking out for any other options, please go ahead and ask what the APR is for that specific loan, because by mandate, we are obliged to actually disclose it. But that's basically what APR is. And yes, it would differ across.
Lovely, thank you so much. And Marion, I think it's time to hand over to the next set of speakers. I just wanted to thank you guys so much. We have a lot of questions still outstanding, so I'm very happy to confirm that this team will be back with you in 30 minutes. So thank you very much for now. Looking forward to seeing you back soon. And then I'll just hand over to Marion, who's going to lead us into the next part of this webinar. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Mindy. Okay, so I'm obviously also based in the London office. Just to give you a quick recap for all of the people who may have joined within the last half an hour. So this is a live AMA or Ask Me Anything event, and we have people from across our company available to speak to you. And we're really, really excited that you were able to join us and take time out of your days to do so. So we've just had a 30-minute session with some of our team based in India, and we're actually going to switch over now to some of our leadership team because we really wanted to give you the opportunity to ask questions. We've had some amazing questions coming through already, so please keep them coming. We have a team on standby moderating them and sending them through to us so we can be as real time and responding as possible. And so first of all, I'd like to introduce the three speakers that are next up, starting with Ricardo. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role at Prodigy.
Hi, hi everyone. So I'm Ricardo. I'm based out of the London office, but traveling a lot to our New York, India, and Cape Town offices. And I am Chief Marketing and Sales Officer. So I am responsible for all the relationships we have with our 400 schools around the world and the marketing and student relationships.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to go next to Nico. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Marion. Hello, everyone. I look after operations for Prodigy. What that really means is that we look after you from kind of when you start your journey with us in terms of applying for your loan, all the way through to the kind of processes that we follow in terms of provisional offers, eventually doing some verification, and in the end, hopefully giving you your final offer. And then obviously also the process that follows after that in terms of starting your journey with us in terms of repaying that loan and any kind of support and guidance that you might need in that process.
Fantastic, thank you. And then finally, last but not least, our Chief Technology Officer, Simon from Cape Town. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Marion. So I'm Simon. My role at Prodigy is to look after the technology function. So that's the development of all the online tools which you see as you go through the onboarding processes, and then the automated back office processes, which ultimately allow us to disperse the funds that you're going to use for your study and then repayment back onto the platform. So it's a team based here in Cape Town of excited engineers delivering front office and back office capability.
Okay, fantastic. And I wanted to just start off because we do have offices in London and New York and also Cape Town. And so Simon, just give us a little flavor of what the office is like in Cape Town and how many people are based out of there.
Absolutely. So we're very lucky at Prodigy, I'll say that, to have offices in 4 amazing cities, Cape Town not least being one of those. We're situated just by Table Mountain. We've got lovely views across the mountain and the ocean, and a very vibrant city. We're roughly around 100 people now here in Cape Town who work across the organization and deliver effectively a great product to our borrowers. The team is very young, very enthusiastic. We've got a great education system here, so very talented individuals who've joined us here in Cape Town and provide an exciting work environment in which to operate, something we all share daily and really thrive on.
Fantastic. It is always a pleasure to visit the Cape Town office, I'll say that. And then a specific tech question for you to kickstart things. Obviously, we're an online business, so how important and how do you leverage tech to provide our services as a company?
Yeah, thanks. It's a really interesting question. So, but when I think about technology, first of all, I think about what is the problem we're trying to solve? What is the customer need we're looking at? And it's a common question we get, especially as CTOs, is people tend to look at the big technology space and look at the latest trending technology and say, oh, Simon, what are you doing with blockchain? What's that look like? And I'm always amused by the question, because it feels a bit like you've got a big hammer and you're running around looking for the nail to knock in with the technology. And so what we really are looking to do at the technology level is understand what it is our customer need is, what the product's going to look like, and then how we can best leverage technology to create that great customer experience. And that means for some exciting times in the technology space. There's a lot going on at the moment around artificial intelligence, around data science. We're certainly using a lot of that in what we do with our risk and verification models. Blockchain clearly is something which is on the radar in terms of the banking and cryptocurrency industries. But we are really at the heart of it looking to solve the customer problem first and foremost. And yeah, from that perspective, we're looking at some exciting ways to drive that innovation and the thinking around what we can do with technology. So we've got a very active team here in Cape Town who are hosting meetups. We've got organizers on conferences, and we host our own hackathons where we look to really drive innovation through the culture of the company. So that's kind of a base view on what we do with technology, Marion.
And I'm just going to quickly dive into the hackathons, because I think it would be interesting for people to understand a bit about what they are.
Sure. So a hackathon, in our definition, it's a 24-hour period in which we get all of our engineers together. We offer to the business to get involved with us. We set a rough theme for the hackathon, but effectively it's engineers looking to solve a problem in a 24-hour period. So they're looking at maybe problems we have internally at Prodigy, they're looking at new technologies, and they're looking to come up with something that after the 24 hours they can present back to the business. So we offer some prizes, there's some great vibe throughout the 24-hour period. Lots of people stay all night and run through delivering their product. But it's an exciting opportunity for people to really think outside of the box, to think outside of the day-to-day activity, to try and deliver something that they can present in front of a big audience. Doesn't always work out well. You do get the odd epic failure, but that's part of the process. It's meant to be a fun, engaging time where people can really have a go at learning a bit more about technology. So our next one's actually next Thursday, so we're really excited and looking forward to that.
A lot of sleepless, or a sleepless night for a few people coming ahead then. So I'm very conscious that we're getting so many questions through, so I'm going to switch quickly. So Ricardo, we've had a question come through from Amav. Does the APR rate vary from university to university and from course to course?
Yes, so rate does vary between university, schools, and courses. Actually, university and courses are two of the several variables that we use when we actually assign a rate to an individual. So rates are individually set based on different parameters, and as I mentioned, school and university and course are two of them. So everyone is conscious that Prodigy Finance is a platform with very different funding sources. So we get investment from alumni from schools, from the actual schools, from family offices, from foundations, from institutions, from banks, and the different funding sources obviously have different returns based on the risk profile of the individuals. We package all of these together, and we have to take these into account based on our funding sources to what rates we can assign to individuals. So yeah, so university and course are two key components when it comes to rates.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. Our next question is actually for Nico, and it's really about our verification process. So the question is, what is your loan verification process, and how does it differ from other loan providers?
Well, I think first thing, obviously, because we're a global company, we try to make the whole application process, which includes the verification component, as digital as we possibly can. As you go through the journey with us, you will receive a provisional offer, and really only once you've received that and accepted it do we go through the verification process, and we obviously do that to try and make it as easy for you to kind of get an initial indication and then follow the journey with us. In terms of verification itself, again, I think we've got a unique kind of knowledge base that allows us to try and make the parts that we want to underwrite or verify as simple as we possibly can. And so obviously provide you with whatever support you might need during that process, online and digitally, to kind of guide you, make sure that we do get the right documentation, and assist in trying to turn that around as quickly as we can, so that we can kind of come back and try to give you that final offer.
Fantastic, thank you. We've had a question about LIBOR. So Rick, this question is specifically, the LIBOR percent seems to be increasing gradually. What if the rate becomes substantially higher than the previous rates?
Okay. Yeah, so we've been getting obviously a lot of questions recently from from our clients and from incoming students about what happens with the US LIBOR increases. So the first point that is very important for everyone to know, US LIBOR is one of the most used variable rates in the world financial markets to set rates for any loan product, be it a mortgage, be it a personal loan, a car loan, or a student loan. So the way that Prodigy Finance works is we pay our investors a return linked to the US LIBOR. So the US LIBOR is something that obviously that we can control, but as the rates go up or down, that also affects the investor rate. So we can do very little on our side. We're obviously trying to innovate in terms of getting cheaper funding and trying to look at alternative funding sources, be them fixed, be them other kinds of rates for the future. But this is part of the process as we try to continue to innovate. For now, I mean, what I would encourage people is to obviously look at all your different options. We give loans not just in USD, but also in euros or GBP. Look at your own personal savings when assessing rates. But it's something that can be little controlled and is very market dependent.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go over to Simon now. So there's obviously a lot of talk at the moment about GDPR, but there's a specific question related to data and security. So how does Prodigy Finance guarantee that personal data and payment details in particular are secure?
Yeah, very topical conversation. GDPR, of course, for European and UK entities comes into play tomorrow. So it's big news, and obviously been working very hard behind the scenes to deliver a platform which stands up to the new regulation. I think let me start by saying at a payment details level, we don't store customer payment details on our platform. So for payment in particular, we work with accredited payment industry card providers. They are accredited to the highest standards, and they're very carefully selected on our behalf to act for the customer in terms of taking those payments. But however, having said that, we do store personal data for the customer, which we take very seriously. And so anything when it comes to security, we look at in a multi-layered kind of approach. There isn't a silver bullet for how you define security at a data level. So we have full-time members of staff, specifically in the roles of security managers and analysts, and we have risk officers who then obviously looking at the outcomes of that. We spend an enormous amount of effort on what our compliance standards look like, not only at a policy level, but then how we enact those policies in real life. So being a little bit more specific about what we do, at a platform level, all of our code and all of our data is stored in the Amazon platform, specifically on AWS. We leverage all of the security fundamentals which Amazon place onto that platform. No employee at Prodigy can directly access that platform. We use things like multi-factor authentication and single sign-on in order to make sure that when people are going onto our platforms, we know exactly who they are and we can audit their activity on the platform. We also look to the third parties out there who specialize in penetration testing. So that's something you would do if you were a credit card provider or you stored highly sensitive information on the platform. We work very closely with these agencies to certify that our platform is secure. And then we also engage with the white hat hacker community. So these are ethical hackers who are looking for vulnerabilities within our actual platform, who help guide us in terms of how we're delivering software to our end customer. And that's kind of on the application platform side. When we specifically look internally, so what do we do at a office management kind of level and a staff level? We have a training program for all of our staff. So we want each member of our team to understand how important data security is and how they should be using that data and the sensitivity around that usage. We do look to the engineers to do hacker training. So we've got some fun internal training set up so the guys can hack at our site and learn a bit about the devious nature or the dark side, if you like, of security. And then we look to some new technologies too. So on the network side of our platform, for our offices in particular, we're using artificial intelligence to look at anomalies within our network, to understand suspicious behavior, to help us control what data comes in and outside of the business. So it's a multi-pronged approach to delivering real value and security to the data that we hold.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a pretty complicated question from Leonardo here. I'm actually going to direct it towards Nico. It's about our risk model. I'm not going to read out the full question because it's pretty long, but ultimately what he's looking to understand is how we assess risk as a business.
Yes, I think that's obviously a very important one, because in that sense, as a business, we're quite unique in terms of the fact that we do provide credit cross-border for students that want to go study, and I think it's definitely one of the things that kind of differentiates us from many of the other loan providers out there, who oftentimes have credit models that are very specific to their market and geography. In our case, we've again tried to kind of make it as simple as we can and to look at the key factors that really kind of drive student behavior and that we can really use to try and assess risk. And those come down to a couple of things. That we try to look at any other liabilities that a student would typically have. We try to look at any other kind of sources of funds that a student might have, such as savings. We look at earnings that the student would have had during or before they came to us to apply for the loan. And then I think something that's pretty unique is that we also then look at kind of future earnings potential, given that our students typically go to institutions which set them up for a career and a profile that really does enable them to have very good future earnings potential. And so those are some of the critical components that we look at in that process.
Thank you. Okay, so there's so many questions coming through, everybody. Thank you so much for submitting them. I'm going to go to Ricardo now. We actually have a question about processing fee and really wanting to understand how we calculate processing fee. The question is specific to whether it's calculated on the total approved loan or if it's actually on the total disbursement of the loan.
Yes, so we calculate the admin fee on the amount that is approved for the total amount and then gets dispersed. So let's say you have a $50,000 loan that it gets dispersed in 2 chunks. Let's say $25,000 in August and then a $25,000 in January of next year. You would pay that admin fee for the full $50,000 upfront.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. There's also a lot of questions coming through on the repayment side, if you would be happy to answer some of them.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the questions is whether or not you can repay earlier and whether or not there are penalties to repaying before you are meant to.
No, so there's definitely no penalties for early settlements, and yes, the answer is that you can pay. We're constantly looking at ways to kind of improve our options that we can provide to students to repay, to make it simpler, cheaper, and easier. But definitely any sort of preference that the student has in terms of early repayments or bulk payments are available, and there are no penalties involved.
Fantastic, thank you. Similarly, on that note, what happens with students who don't repay?
Yeah, I think obviously for us as Prodigy, and this goes beyond just repayment, our relationship with our students is something that we hold very dear. And so throughout our journey with you, early on when we start with the application process all the way through to kind of the repayment process, I think the key for us is to kind of constantly be in communication and to try and be as supportive as we can, in many ways, not just in providing students with the funds to go study. So when we do get into a situation where borrowers need to start repaying, but they do run into difficulty, as a company, we've got quite a few kind of actions that we can take in that regard. And I think the secret is always to kind of just keep talking and to keep communicating so that as a company, we can listen to the kind of difficulty that the student might be experiencing, and so that we can engage in whatever arrangements will work for the borrower, but also for us as a company. And I think it's in that flexibility and in that ongoing conversation that we always find a solution. But I think definitely the secret is let's just keep talking and figure out the best way to take it forward.
Thank you. Simon, we have a question for you now, and this is quite a fun one. The question is, do we have a mobile app?
Oh, one of my favorite questions. Thanks for that question. Exciting news. So we do have a mobile app. It is in beta release, so it's early days for us, but it's something we've been working on behind the scenes to add value to our customers. So we reached out to our customers a while ago and said to them, what would it look like if we developed an app? And an overwhelming sort of feedback was, what we'd really like to be able to do is to do payments online, so to pay as we go. We'd like to be able to see our outstanding balances. We'd like to be able to see our statements. We want a real view on what our loan looks like. And so that's what we've developed. So the feature list is as requested, really. The beta group is currently making payments online. We're taking lots of data from how good an experience it is, how we can improve the experience. And we're looking to roll that out to more and more of our customers over the coming weeks. The app is available in both iOS, so Apple products, and then Android. And we have developed a web-based mobile optimized platform too for those people who don't want to download an app. So it is available. Lots of exciting features being requested off the back of this initial user testing. So really exciting for us. So coming out soon, watch this space.
Amazing, thank you very much. How exciting for us. Ricardo, we are getting a lot of questions through about cost of attendance. I know Dhruv has asked one, also I think Ravi has asked one. Essentially, people want to understand everything about cost of attendance and what you can use the funding for, whether it's tuition or also living expenses, what you do if you don't use all of the funding. I think the specific question from Dhruv was, if I take a loan for $46,000 for the first year and don't use much of that, what happens to the rest of that amount?
Okay, perfect. So let me try to give some clarity on cost of attendance. And obviously, there's a lot of information in our FAQs about cost of attendance. But the way that we assess an individual application or any student application is based on cost of attendance. So we work very closely with the schools in order to identify how much is living expenses and how much is tuition, which is what composes cost of attendance. And then we do our risk analysis based on the loan that someone wants for the cost of attendance to basically fund part of the cost of attendance. Now, whenever you get a loan in, I would say about 95% of the schools and almost all the schools and all the US schools, you can use your loan both for living and for tuition payments. So we work very closely with the schools in order to disperse the funds, and then those funds are dispersed back for living expenses to the students. It's a very standard, structured process that's been going on for many years in the US in the very developed education market. Now, we also give a lot of flexibility to students. So in a case where, for example, you don't need, your full $50,000 right before you start school, you can decrease your loan, or we allow for very early repayments. So let's say in some cases, you take a loan for, let's say, $40,000, and all of a sudden, 2 months into your school, someone gives you $20,000 from your family or from some scholarship, etc. Then you can use that to lower your outstanding loan. So we're very flexible when it comes to managing your total loan and the cost of attendance aspect.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. There's a couple more questions on repayment. So from Desmond in Ghana, firstly, what are your repayment procedures? And then separately from Armav, is repayment always in USD? So that's for you, Nico.
Right, so I think, firstly, I think obviously the core of the journey and the communication around repayments is through providing you with the relevant information that you need. And we do that through sending you a monthly statement, which gives you pretty much all the information that you need in terms of the amount that you need to repay, some of the repayment options that's available to you, the kind of references that you need to use to make sure that when you do make these payments, they come through and they go into the right accounts. And then obviously we are also, as Simon just mentioned, we are looking at this app that we want to get out. We are looking to improve our payment options through that additional channel, which is very exciting. We're all looking forward to that. So that's kind of the framework that we use to try and facilitate the payments as best as we can. On the websites and other places, you will find additional options that you can use, global options, to facilitate payment. And then in terms of the currency, no, it's not just in USD. It depends on kind of where you find yourself. So it's normally UK or pound and then USD.
Okay, thank you. We also have a question specifically about disbursement and why it goes to the college instead of students' bank accounts. So Ricardo, this question's from Akhil, and I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, Akhil, but why does Prodigy disperse the loan to college, into a college instead of a student's bank account?
Yeah, so this is very linked to our funding sources. So the way that we've been able to negotiate, a very, very low cost of funding, we're able to give the best rate to students, is that we follow a very typical process that is already set up in the United States and many other schools that we've worked with in Europe and around the world, which is dispersing the tuition and the total loan directly to the school. So it minimizes risk perspective, it minimizes money landing in the wrong place, and it actually helps us as Prodigy Finance achieve cheaper cost of funding, which we're able to give back to the student in terms of decreasing the rate.
Okay, fantastic. We also have, Ricardo, another question on interest and what are all the factors that go into us determining the interest rate. So this is actually from Ravi, and he wants to know whether or not it's based off merit or collateral signature, and also is the rate of interest constant. So a lot of questions around the interest rate and how that's formulated on our side.
Yep. So the most important point is that we don't require any cosigner, any collateral. Like that is one of the key differentiators from a Prodigy Finance product to many other banks around the world that require collateral cosigner of sorts. We use more than 20 different variables to determine the rate. I mentioned some of these before, which were the school, the university, the course, your pre-MBA salary, where you've been working. Like it's a relatively large amount of variables that we use to determine the rate. And then depending on the school that we work with, in some schools, obviously, we're able to lend in US dollars, in euros, in GBP. And these are all based on the funding sources that we have. And obviously, there's different variable rates that are associated to that. So the US LIBOR in USD to Euribor based in euros. But most important, like there's a lot of different variables that are taken into account, which basically come from what Nico was mentioned before, this predictive future earnings potential model that we have been building over the last 10 years.
Okay, fantastic. And we are very close to running out of time. So I just want to ask the three of you, if you have any closing parting thoughts before we move on to our next session and our next group of panelists, and also just to say thank you so much for giving up your time and being available to answer these amazing questions that are just streaming through at the moment. Anyone has any parting thoughts, or are you happy?
I will just say that I encourage everyone to apply for a loan. It takes between 5 and 15 minutes, no commitment, and you can find out what potential you have in order to take a Prodigy Finance loan to study abroad. So go ahead and test out our platform.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're actually going to hand over now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Joel, who is in New York.
Hey everybody, welcome back. For those who've been joining us for the last hour, hope you enjoyed some fantastic panels. We heard from some of our market leaders in India. We also had a chance to chat with our Chief Technology Officer, our Head of Operations, our Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, and hope that everybody enjoyed getting some questions both on product as well as some of the new advancements that are going on here at Prodigy Finance. So yeah, welcome back to New York. We also are going to be joined by a few folks in our India office for our next segment. Just a quick reminder, I'll be joining you at the top of every hour just to kind of refocus the conversation. Our first session will always be addressing questions around the application, around the process, and then the second half of the hour will allow you an opportunity to speak to some of the leaders in the organization, ask questions about Prodigy's history, Prodigy's future, and anything you've really been wondering. If you do have any specific application questions with regard to your application, we would ask you to sign into the platform. We do have live chat agents standing ready to help you. Or if you prefer to send an email, you can always send an email to us at info@prodigyfinance.com. Just go ahead and put AMA in the subject line. That way our agents can quickly tag that and make sure you get a speedy response. Again, in the spirit of an AMA, it's the opportunity for you to ask questions that may be on your mind. I'm going to kick us off this hour. We have a great question coming in from Fabrice, asking if we finance students who don't have savings, scholarship, or other sources of funding. I think it's a great question for the top of the hour, for the half of the hour here, as it really is the root of Prodigy Finance. So Prodigy Finance was started as an opportunity to give access to the world's top talent to pursue their educational goals and to go on to achieve greater things for themselves, their families, and their communities. And so, no, you do not need to have necessarily other sources of funding or scholarship. That being said, we do always recommend that students kind of plan out how they're going to pay for their program. You should always, of course, look to see if there are scholarships available. You should think about how you're planning to save for that program. And you should be adding all of those things into your application. So you'll hear a little bit more about our process and some of the maximum loan offers that we can extend. But yeah, you don't need to come to the table with tons of scholarship to necessarily be a Prodigy borrower. And with that, I'd like to kick it over to our host for the next hour, Mindy and our London team, and we're joined by Pratish, Nikhil in Bangalore, as well as Rashab and Delhi over in India. So thanks everybody for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you very much again, Joel, for that introduction, and welcome back also to our team members in India. As Joel mentioned, we're dialing in live from London, so hello from London. Okay, let's jump straight back in. So Rishab, this one's for you. We've had so many questions coming through, so expect a lot of them coming through in the next half hour, so be ready. The first one for you, Rishab, is very technical, is I'm unable to download a civil credit report, and I don't have any credit history. Why do I need to submit a credit report still? I think that's a great one for you to answer.
Great, absolutely. So that is actually a very common question, and I love that it's popped up in this AMA today. So fundamentally, Prodigy Finance is in the business of understanding how much loan you can afford right now without any collateral or co-signer by understanding your post-master's income. If you have any current debt, what it would mean is that it might adversely affect the other loans you can borrow, including a loan from Prodigy Finance. So we need to confirm what you have mentioned in your initial application as the initial outstanding debt that you have right now. Now, to confirm that, the best way is a credit report. There are multiple agencies and bureaus across the globe for different countries. If you are talking about India specifically, the most common bureau used is CIBIL. Now, if you have applied for a CIBIL report and if you have never taken a loan in your history, the bureau would come back to you saying something called an NH, which stands for no hit. Now, it is very important for you to show like no hit screenshot so that we definitely can confirm that there is no outstanding debt right now in your name. You can get that screenshot if you log into the CIBIL.com website and put in your initial details. You need to subscribe to a monthly or annual subscription, and after that you'll get an NH status, and you can get a screenshot of that, including your name, a unique identifier, and the date on which you pulled that report.
Super, thank you so much, Rashad. And then a question coming through from both Monica, who's dialing in from Peru, and Kigali, who's actually dialing in from Rwanda, who want to know about our scholarships and how they apply for that. So I'll take this one. So we have Prodigy Finance, we have a scholarship program available, which is available to all of our borrowers. How it works is that we extend 10 scholarship of $10,000, pounds, or euros, depending on the currency your loan is in. And that scholarship will serve as a prepayment towards your loan. It's super simple to apply for a scholarship. All you need to do is head to our scholarship page, fill out a few questions, which are about a few financial objective questions, and fill in a short 250-word motivation on why you would like to receive that Prodigy Finance scholarship. And then every April and October, we will basically run all of those applicants together, and we will decide on a short list who will be judged by a panel of objective judges. And then we will award the 5 scholarships to the top 5 people that come out of that ranking. We've just announced the first set of recipients for this year, so make sure to head over to our blog to see who they were and what they had to say about the program. So then back to India, back to Nikhil actually. We have a question from Ravi, who's really interested to understand what the factors are that affect an interest rate that we provide. Would you be able to elaborate on that, Nikhil?
Sure, Ravi. So to be very clear, the way our interest rate builds up is actually a component of 2 factors. So Prodigy Finance overall has an interest rate range of between 5 and 8.5%. Now, we would look at every individual and we would match every individual to one or more schools that the individual is applying to. And we would look at over 50 parameters given this combination of an individual and a school to arrive at a customized interest rate for every individual, every school that he or she may be applying to. What that essentially means is you, Ravi, as an individual, may be applying to 5 schools. You're welcome to have 5 provisional offers from us on the platform. Go ahead, as long as we support the school. You might just find you have a slightly different interest rate to the schools, and you are actually the same individual. The reason is because we are very often getting data from these schools on salaries, on career progression. We are into our own model. We have had over 10,000 borrowers from over 157 countries in the last decade who borrowed from us. We're using that, churning that through data science, and coming up, like you said, using over 50 parameters for the most optimal offer for you. Conversely, there could be a friend, a colleague of yours who's applying to the exact same school as you, who might actually have a slightly different interest rate. And that is quite possibly because one or more of those 50 plus parameters that I mentioned differ between you and this other individual, although you're applying to the same school program. So that is the level of customization that Prodigy Finance does, because we believe that not only is every individual unique, but every school and every program has unique characteristics of its own, and we have data points to prove this. And therefore, our proprietary data science model merges these multiple data points, matching an individual to every school that the individual applies to. And therefore, we are able to customize interest rates to that level. So what we can tell you is that the Prodigy Finance fixed rate that you will be offered, determined by our credit model and our credit committee, could be ranging between 5 and 8.5%. Having said that, please visit the individual school landing page, and we have over 400 of them. Depending on which school, which program you're applying to, it will actually sometimes narrow down that range. For instance, you can sometimes see at your school the range of between 7 and 8%, for example. And then, depending on the data that you provide in your 30-minute online application, your provisional offer will further narrow that down to the second decimal place. For instance, it will say that you have been assessed at a 7.56% fixed rate for this. That is the way we narrow down interest rates, just as an example. Do note that this fixed rate is then going to float on a variable rate, which is the LIBOR, depending on which currency you're borrowing in a geography you're going to be studying in. That could be the USD LIBOR, the British Pound LIBOR, or the Euribor. So eventually your rate will be a variable rate because it's a combination of the fixed rate determined by our credit committee and 3-month LIBOR, which is a macroeconomic variable floating rate. All this is completely transparent and is disclosed to you. In the provision offer, you will see the breakup. And like we've already mentioned, you will also know the impact on you on an annual basis because the annual percentage rate will also be disclosed to you. The APR or the annual percentage rate is something that helps you compare loans. If you have another loan offer, you can compare APR with APR, apples to apples, as long as it's over the same repayment. So I hope this answers the question. I know it's a little long drawn, but I'm just trying to tell you that interest rate itself has many components. Interest rate would differ for different applicants. Interest rate would very often differ for the same applicant across different schools. That's the customization that Prodigy Finance has. I hope that answers the question in interest rates as far as Prodigy Finance.
It does. Thank you so much, Nikhil. And then over to Pratish. So we have a question from Julius who's asking, are non-Europeans also eligible to apply for a Prodigy Finance loan?
Yes, we support close to 125 plus nationalities. So yes, you can go ahead and apply for a loan. It's totally global.
Amazing. And then just to follow up on that, Pratish, what is the grace period when it comes to repayment of that loan?
Perfect. So if this is a full-time program, it would be 6 months. If it was a part-time program, it would be 3 months. So let's say if you are on a 2-year program, that's 24 months. 24 months plus 6 months would be 30. Your repayment would start on the 31st month. And once you apply for a Prodigy Finance loan on a provisional offer, you would be the repayment period would be disclosed. Normally for 2-year programs, if it's a master's program, it's close to 15 years, the repayment.
Amazing, thank you so much, very clear. And then back to Delhi, to Rishabh. It's a question from Faith, who would like to know if she can require a loan as a fresh graduate without any work experience.
That sounds like an interesting question. Maybe there's a reception problem from mine. Can you be a bit louder? Thank you.
Of course, sorry. Yeah, that's the challenges of global working, right? So Faith would like to know if, as a fresh graduate without any work experience, if she can actually get a loan with us.
Got it. So if I understood or heard correctly, the person who asked the question is curious if they need to have work experience to apply for a loan with Prodigy Finance. And if I heard correctly, the answer is absolutely no. Work experience is not a requirement, is not mandated to borrow from Prodigy Finance. We require like a visa. We understand that a lot of programs and universities nowadays for master's programs do not mandate any work experience in their application process. And we understand that if you have got an admit to the university program, then we fully trust in the university's admission process and are happy to assess you for a loan without requiring any work employment history.
Amazing, thank you so much for answering Faith's questions. And then over to Nikhil. So we have a question from Ella. And Ella would like to know if she pays more than required in each period, whether that would help to reduce the total payable amount over her loan.
Absolutely, Ella. That's a very good question, and we do see that happening with a lot of borrowers, right? So you will know the exact monthly repayment required every single month for the entire repayment period. That's transparent. In fact, it's there on your loan offer, on your loan agreement, right? So you would know that upfront. Having said that, once you start working, or sometimes even before that, you're more than welcome to make a higher than required payment, right? What this essentially means is that your total loan outstanding that would reflect in a monthly statement would be reduced by a higher amount than what would normally happen if you just paid the exact amount for every month. What that also means is, remember, interest only builds up on your loan amount outstanding. If you're going to make a prepayment or a higher than required monthly repayment, this effectively means that the loan outstanding has reduced, and therefore the interest that builds up on that loan amount outstanding will also reduce. This works in your favor. If you continue to do this periodically, you would actually end up repaying your loan earlier than the explicitly stated repayment period, which could be anything between 7 to 20 years, depending on your loan, and your program and the length of your program and many other factors. But just so you know, if you end up repaying the loan sooner, you would actually save on interest. You would only repay interest that is accumulated to the date on which you end up closing out your loan. That works in your favor if you so choose to do that. Most importantly, Prodigy Finance will not penalize you in any way for making any kind of prepayment or early repayment or higher than required monthly payment on your loan. I hope that answers the question.
I think it does, Nikhil. Thank you very much. And then back to Pratish. So an interesting one for you, actually, and it's something that comes up, I think, a lot when speaking to students is, So how does it work with a visa? Do we help borrowers to get a visa in the country, and how does it work with a Prodigy Finance loan if you apply for a visa, which is a question that Fabrice actually asked.
Hi, friends. So we do have a lot of visa guides which are actually available for our borrowers. If you are taking a loan from Prodigy Finance, this information is readily available on the website. One. Two is we hold a lot of info sessions, online sessions that actually guide you and steer you on what would be the best practice when it comes to visa. I'm guessing this would probably be for the United States. Regarding how does it help? So the Prodigy Finance confirmed loan letter, first of all, is completely free. Right? So once you get onto the provisional offer stage and you submit the documents, you receive a free confirmed letter. There's no cost to it. This is a legit source of document to show for your visa requirement, right? So this is how Prodigy Finance brings the difference, and we literally have it upfront. And whenever it comes to visas, I think funding your education is one of the biggest criteria, especially if you're talking about the US, the I-20 visa, that's what they look for. So your confirmed loan letter would literally be your holy grail.
Okay, great, thank you so much. And then over to Rishabh. So we have a question from Boniface, who it's a verification question. So what is the alternative to proof of residence for people that actually live in places where the location is not easily captured? So how do we deal with that, or people who live with their parents still? Yeah.
Yeah, so that can be slightly tricky. So I'm glad to see that question. When it comes to proof of current address or proof of address, we are looking for proof of where you're currently residing. And that typically means that we're looking for any sort of official document that states in the past few days, in the past 60 days, that you have been residing in the location from which you have mentioned in your initial application. So some of the examples of these documents could be your credit card statements, your bank statements, your utility bills such as electricity, water, etc., that are in your name and mention the address, like where you're currently living, and you mention that in the initial application. Now, like Mendy mentioned, there might be a case if suppose you're living on rent and all the bills actually come in the name of the landlord or landlady. In that case, we absolutely accept the rental agreement. So just upload the rental agreement, and that works very, very well. The other example could be if you're living with parents or living with some kind of family, and all of the documents again come in their name, then you can use the document that is in their name, but the person to whom the document is addressed needs to sign a self-attested letter stating that you live with them. So for example, if you live with your parents, the bill is in your father's name, then you can upload that bill. The bill would be in the name of the father, and then you would need a letter, a self-attested letter from your father stating that you actually do live with them. So it can be very simple. Please bear in mind that it needs to be current address, and the documents need to be in the past 60 days. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Rishabh. That was really useful. And then over back to Bangalore to Nikhil. We have a question from Richard, sorry, from Richard, who is from Africa. And he says salaries in Africa are generally very low. And my salary has been below 1,000, the equivalent of $1,000 US. Will I qualify for a loan, and how will it affect my rates?
So Richard, that's a very good question. As you know, statistically, 80% of our borrowers are from emerging markets, and we know that not just in your country but across emerging markets, average salaries are not really comparable with the US or UK for that matter, or the Eurozone, where a lot of our students are going to study. That is perfectly fine. I think Rishabh has earlier in this conversation also answered another question about the fact that we are supporting a lot of candidates who are doing back-to-back degrees. These are people who are typically studying an undergraduate degree in engineering, who have decided that, you know what, I just want to finish all my studies in one go, and therefore I'm going ahead for a 2-year MS Masters in the US. Never had a full-time income, probably don't even have a credit card against their name. But guess what? This person has got through a top 100 school on merit, right, and has an admit, and that's what we really care about, right? We are supporting the top 100 schools in business and engineering for a reason. We believe that these are the schools that will give you a great growth in your career, and more importantly, just as important, earning potential. Very often we have data from these schools about the kind of income levels and career growth for graduates at those particular schools with those particular programs. That is what our data model is built on, your future potential, and that's what we're going to use. So whether you've been earning the equivalent of $1,000 a month, or we have cases, like I've said, of people earning nothing because they're still studying, they've never actually had an income, and we can still lend to them. So rest assured that this will not negatively impact your application. Please go ahead and confidently declare all actual details, whatever the case may be about your income, and we will take that into account. It will not negatively affect your application or your chances to get a loan from us. Like I said, you qualify because you've gotten admit from a top 100 school that we support, and that's good enough for us. So I hope that answers the question. Please go ahead with your application and don't worry.
Great, thank you so much. That's super useful. And then over to Pratish again. So we have so many questions coming through, and we're super excited about it. So we're trying to power through it quite quickly. Pratish, so we have a question from Satyajit. Again, sorry if I mispronounced the name. Who's asking, do you require any margin money from the borrower for the loan process? So do we ask for any funds to process a loan application?
No, we actually do not ask for any funds. Like, you would not really deposit those funds to us if that's what your question is. But let's just take a hypothetical example. You're attending a program that we support 100% cost of attendance for, and you get approved for 80% cost of attendance. That's tuition plus living. In this case, we are willing to fund you the 80%, but we just want to make sure that the remaining 20% is being looked after. We definitely want to prepare you visa ready. Like, again, coming back to my visa question and my response, funding is one of the most important facets of this. So we not only give you the 80% funding, but the remaining 20%, we just want to see that it's being looked after. So you can show this in terms of any form of liquid funds, and it does not need to be from you. It could be your relative, it could be a blood relative, a friend, as long as the remaining 20%, which is the remainder, the gap in this case, is being looked after, we will go ahead and process the loan. You will just have to show us the proof and not really transfer the amount.
Okay, great, thank you very much. And then there's several questions that keep coming up about cost of attendance and APR and all like the abbreviations that are so simple and like so second nature to us. So maybe Rishabh, you can explain to us again what we mean with COA and what that actually implies when we talk about COA.
POA, that is proof of admission. I just want to check
the cost of attendance.
Oh yeah, so the tech is definitely a challenge here. Sorry, COA, cost of attendance. Great. So as you chatted earlier in this AMA, the basic principle of Prodigy Finance and the loan assessment is by understanding what is your post-master's income. And you know what's the most important thing to make sure you actually get that income is the fact that you actually complete your degree. And that is very, very important for Prodigy Finance to understand. Do you have enough funds when Prodigy Finance is a portion of your total cost that you can actually complete your education and get that amazing job with that great salary to pay back that loan? So in the same example, like Pratish had referenced earlier, if the university believes that the total cost is $100,000, and if we have approved for 80%, which is $80,000, in that case, we just need to understand your ability to pay for the remaining 20K, the remaining 20,000, should you be required during your period of education. Now, we understand that the cost of attendance can be subjective to different people because it has a component of living expenses. Some people might want to live on campus, which historically is known to be slightly more expensive. But if you live off campus on your own, you could manage with spending less money or living, etc. So the key point I would say is that we look at the total cost that the university recommends that would be required to complete your education. We just want to know if you have the ability to pay for that, and you do not make any formal agreement with the rest of the amount that you're not borrowing from Prodigy Finance.
Great, thank you very much. And then another abbreviation that we keep using and a lot of questions keep coming out about is APR. So maybe Nikhil, you want to briefly explain again what we mean with APR and what it actually entails, and what the consequences and what APR implies.
Sure. So APR is an acronym that stands for annual percentage rate. It is the impact on the borrower on an annualized basis, taking into account not just the interest rate on the loan, but all other fees associated with the loan. So because we're headquartered in the UK, we're governed by the Financial Conduct Authority of the UK. We're legally mandated to disclose the APR to you, and we're being very transparent with your loan offer, telling you what the APR is on your offer, right? As far as Prodigy Finance is concerned, there is only one additional fee associated with your loan, which is a 2.5% admin fee. You don't have to pay this out of pocket. It is actually added by Prodigy Finance to your loan account, along with the first disbursement for each year of study, right? But what this means is, because of this 2.5% admin fee that we pay and we add to your loan account, your interest builds up on your loan amount disbursed plus this admin fee. Therefore, on an annualized basis, your added percentage rate is marginally higher. That interest rate that is accumulating, or rather the exact dollar value of interest accumulating on your loan outstanding on a monthly basis, you literally apply a formula, a multiplier of interest rate into your loan outstanding. So APR should never be confused with interest rate. It is simply a tool that we're being transparent about, and we're empowering you to help you to make the best decision for yourself. If you happen to have another loan offer or multiple loan offers from other lenders, please go ahead and request them to disclose their APR, right? And then it is simply you being able to compare apples with apples, compare the APR across multiple loan offers that you have. Any financial advisor, including ourselves, will tell you to go with the lowest APR that you receive. Please make sure when you're comparing APRs across loans that the duration of the loan, or rather the repayment, should be the same, so that you make sure you're comparing apples with apples. And yeah, we're empowering you. We're giving you all the right tools and all the right information to make the best decision for yourself. So please use the information, and please go ahead and compare APRs if you happen to have another loan offer. But also, just as importantly, do not confuse the APR, the annual percentage rate, with your interest rate. The APR is higher than the interest rate, and it is not the equivalent of the rate that will impact interest that actually builds up on your loan. So please look at a loan offer very carefully, and make sure that you're aware of the differences in interest rate and APR, and use APR to compare loans if you happen to have another offer. Hope this answers the question. Hope we're being clear that we're being very transparent by giving you the right tools to make the best decision for yourself as a borrower.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nikhil. That was super clear. And whoever is ever in doubt about APR, or if you have any questions, like, either feel free to send us an email or look at our FAQ page on our website. It actually deals with APR quite in a lot of detail. And we even have links to some YouTube videos that also explain what APR means. And I think we have time for one final question, which I'm going to throw to Pratish before we head into the next part of this AMA. Is a question from Lima, Pratish. Would like to know, will interest accrue from the time of disbursement, or will it only start accruing after my years of study?
Good question. So interest will be in effect after the first disbursement. So let's take a hypothetical example. If you are in a 1-year program, that's 12 months, interest would be when the first amount would be disbursed. And in this case, it would be exactly when university starts. However, you are under no obligation to make any payment in this case, but yes, interest will be in charge from the first disbursement all the way till the life of your loan on the amount disbursed.
Okay, great, super clear. And I'm just going to look to Marion, who is going to actually enter into, is going to be a host for the next session again. This is the last of our team India, because they will be signing off after this. However, if you do have any loan-specific questions that you would like answered, in another half an hour there will be an additional session. So thank you so much, Pratish, Nikhil, Rishabh, Team India, for joining and for answering all of these questions. Thank you so much. Yeah, and talk to you soon.
And also to Mindy, our wonderful host for these sessions. You've been a superstar.
Thank you so much. Very welcome.
So Joel is actually going to take it from here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back, and hope you've been enjoying the AMA and getting all your questions answered. As we talked about at the top of the hour, we switched from the opportunity to ask questions about your specific application and give you an opportunity to speak with some of the leaders of the organization so you can learn a little bit about the future of Prodigy. You may have questions about the past and how we've gotten to where we are today over the last decade. So thrilled to be joined this hour by Ricardo, our Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, currently out of Madrid. Sarah, who is a product owner for our community product, which you'll hear, membership products, which you'll hear a little bit more about, and is based in our London office. And I think Marion is going to be taking us away and firing away some questions as they come in.
Absolutely, and please keep them coming. We're having so many questions coming through, which is really exciting to see, and we'll try and answer as many of them as we can. We have a team of moderators on hand that are sending them through to us live. So I'm going to kickstart with a question for Joel, and it's really because Joel's based in the US. He's the head of our Americas, so a lot of our schools are actually in the US, and I know a lot of the people who are sending the questions through are looking to study there. So Joel, what growth does Prodigy Finance expect from the US?
Yeah, so we were super excited to enter the U.S. market in 2014. The U.S. does have the largest market of international students. In 2016, it just crested over 1 million students per year. The second largest country for international students is actually the U.K. So we've been obviously supporting students in the U.K. From very early on in our history. And we do expect to see continued growth with students coming to the U.S., not only in some of the business programs, but obviously there's been great growth in the engineering and STEM degrees in the US. That being said, we've also seen growth within our schools in the UK, Canada as well, Australia, and even a little bit in China. So we're always kind of tracking where students are interested in going and have continued to add schools. We now work with over 150 universities representing almost 300 schools around the world. So do always encourage you to take a look on our website. We have a great little map. You can kind of see if your school is listed. And if it's not listed, you can always ask us, to look into that school. But before you do that, I would always recommend take a look through our FAQs. We do give a lot of information with regard to the schools we support and why.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to ask Sarah some questions about benefits, because actually in the last 30 minutes we had a lot of questions about benefits that we were storing up just for you. So the first question is actually coming from Innocent, who's based out of Rwanda, and she wants to understand what the career services are that we offer.
Sure. So it's actually been really exciting because we piloted career services starting last year, got a great response from them, and now we're building out a full program for the folks who will be entering school starting now, essentially. We offer essentially an online course in career services, as well as links to partners that have further information, guides that we've developed in-house, and also individual coaching if you feel that you'd like that. And that starts from the moment that your loan is approved with Prodigy Finance. We have a lot of folks who are really excited to start their journey and get prepped to go off to campus. So you get access to some initial career services right at that moment. As you go through your journey on campus, and for example, if you're joining a 2-year program, you might want to start to look for an internship. We'll have an online course ready for you to walk you through the steps of applying for an internship in the country where you're studying, or abroad generally. We'll do the same for your second or final year if you're in a 1-year program for the full-time roles. So those types of services involve all kinds of information about how to recruit, what the process actually looks like, and then also tips and tricks for getting the content right when you're sending in your application materials or walking through an interview or even negotiating an offer. So it's really a front-to-back journey for recruitment. Delivered online and through some helpful partners if you feel like you'd like some more help or some more information.
That was a really helpful overview. Thank you so much. And I know there's a lot of different questions coming through about career services. So if you have something specific other than what Sarah hasn't already answered, please do send it through. Okay, so another question from Abhishek. So Ricardo, this one's for you. How will the loan disbursements take place? He wants to know whether or not he has to contact Prodigy, or will Prodigy contact him?
So we manage the full disbursement with the school. So you don't need to worry about anything. One of the differentiating factors with other lenders and with other banks is that we've been built to work with universities and to give student loans. So we actually have partnerships with over 400 schools around the world, where we work very closely with the administrators there, with financial aid, to make sure that the money arrives to the school. So you don't need to worry about anything. Just make sure you sign your loan agreement, and once that's signed, we will take care of all the rest.
Okay, cool. And a similar question on disbursement. It's from Shriram, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. The question is for Ricardo: if I need to disperse a lesser amount than the prior planned amount, how do I go about changing that?
Yeah, so before the disbursement happens, you have full flexibility to be able to lower the amount. So let's say you get your loan now, everything is approved, and over the next 2 or 3 months, you actually get a scholarship, you get additional savings from a family member or from someone else. You just write to Prodigy Finance, and you would be able to lower that amount as needed. So we provide a lot of flexibility to be able to decrease the amount and the loan that you need. And then right before that you actually disperse, like, you will still be able to change for any other specifics that you have. So we give you full flexibility when it comes to lowering your loan amount.
And one more question on this. I think there's lots of questions around disbursement. So again, for Ricardo, does Prodigy's agreement with the university mean I have to do almost nothing to get the living expense refund from the university to my account?
Yeah, so you'll have to do a very standard and simple process, which is you will connect your bank account with the university. So it's a very common activity. Once you arrive on campus, you'll open up a bank account. You can have savings, and you might be able to get a checking account with a debit card. You'll connect that to the US bank, to the university. It's a very simple and standard process. And any excess funds, so that you are not used for tuition, will be directly dispersed to your bank account. This is a process that millions and millions of students have used in the US. It's a regular process we've been using for many years, and you don't need to worry about anything.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Joel, we have a question from Rohan, and he would like to know how the loan interest rate varies during repayment.
Great question. So at Prodigy Finance, we offer variable base rates on our loans. That means that there's a base rate, and then there's a margin on top of that. So Prodigy Finance, like many lenders throughout the world, particularly student lenders, use 3-month US LIBOR as a base rate. This is a common rate that is a combination of multiple banks around the world who set this on a daily basis, and you can see that rate very transparently with a simple Google search. You can see what 3-month LIBOR is, where it's been. The margin of the loan will stay constant throughout the life of the loan. So if you have a 10-year loan or a 15-year loan, the margin will always stay the same. The base rate may change based on market fluctuations. The reason that you would take a variable base rate loan, and the reason that many lenders offer it, is a combination in matching the investor interest. So investors want to ensure that they're earning returns of the current market rates, but also to provide the borrower the flexibility that these are long-term loans. So these are 10 or 15-year loans. And so your ability to kind of mark to market, if you will, or match what the market rate is. So where the market rates may be something today, over a 15-year loan term, you may have multiple economic cycles. And so that rate could go up or could go down throughout the life, and therefore your rate would adjust. So for example, if when you took the loan, you had a rate of 6% plus 3-month LIBOR, and that was, let's say, at 2%, you'd currently have an 8% rate. But if in 5 years, LIBOR were to go down, let's say to 1%, you would then be paying 7%. So it's always important to understand that you have a variable base rate, but it's also important to understand how those rates work across a long horizon of time.
Fantastic, thank you. That's very clear. Okay, Sarah, we have another careers question for you. So the question is very specific around mentoring, and they want to understand a little bit more about careers mentoring and what exactly Prodigy offers in that space.
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, we do some ad hoc connections with alumni who are willing to do mentorship calls. These are usually one-off informational interviews to help our students and recent graduates understand what a specific role is like. I'm going to be really candid here. Most of the folks who come into us and are having challenges with recruiting don't actually need mentoring, and that's why we don't offer it as a standard part of our career services. We've done individual interviews with 400 students and alums. They're all international students, primarily studying in the US, and also all over Europe and a bit in Asia. And what they typically need is a little bit more guidance on the process for recruiting in their local area, and some tips and help on how to develop their applications for that region. So we focus the vast majority of our efforts on solving that problem for our customers. And we do sometimes do ad hoc mentoring as well, but we find that, to be honest with you, it's not needed as much as you might think.
Really good answer. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question from Adriana from Peru, and this one's for you, Ricardo. And Adriana would like to know if I can apply for a loan that would exceed the total tuition of the MBA, basically to fund the cost of living for that year.
So we have partnerships with every single school in the US. With all the schools that we work with, we're able to lend for both tuition and for living expenses. But unfortunately, in some of the schools that we work in Asia and Europe, we can only lend up to full tuition amount. So it does vary school to school, and I encourage you to go into the individual school pages that we have for the course that you're interested, and you'd be able to see what is the maximum loan amount that you'll be able to borrow. So 4 or 5 years ago, the maximum loan amount that we were able to lend to any school was actually tuition amount. Over the last few years, as we've been able to identify different funding sources, different investors, we've been able to increase to lend for living expenses up to 80% of cost of attendance, which normally is about half of the living expenses you'd be able to borrow. And actually this year, for the first time, we are actually able to give loans for engineers up to full cost of attendance if you're eligible for it. So that would be full tuition and a full living expenses. So it really depends on the school and the different programs that you apply to.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So Joel, we've had a few questions from different people about the scholarship program, and I'm going to summarize them because there's a lot of different aspects to it, but ultimately they all bucket up into whether or not people can still apply for the program, because I know that we just announced 5 recipients.
Absolutely. So for this year, for 2018, the scholarship program is broken out into actually 2 sections. So we just announced the first set of recipients, but the scholarship program will be running through the end of October. So through October 26th, when we will be selecting our next set of recipients. You don't need to do anything else if you've already received a loan approved status, which is the main requirement, and you've already submitted your test scores and your written component. You don't need to do anything else. Even if you weren't selected as one of our first recipients, you still are in the running to be a recipient in our October session.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And I know there's lots of excitement around the scholarship, so information is also on our website if you have a look under the community tab. We have a question from Julius coming through. He's from Uganda, and he wants to understand if we only support people who are coming from Europe, and in particular, if he chooses a European university, are we more likely to fund him? So Ricardo, would you be able to answer that one?
So it actually doesn't really depend on the course or the school. So the flexibility, I'll take that back. The different options that you would have really do vary. Sorry, I got distracted here, and if you can just repeat the question again there, Marian.
Yeah, absolutely. So Julius is from Uganda, and he wants to go and study in Europe, but he's concerned whether or not we are only supporting European people. So he wants to find out whether or not as a Ugandan going to Europe, we could support him.
Yeah, sorry, I was understanding something completely different. No. So it's very important to everyone to understand it, and we get this question quite often, that we support up to 150 different nationalities around the world. Like, we were built in order to be able to finance people, especially from countries that don't have any other funding options. We fund people coming from Kenya, Uganda, Peru, Brazil, India, China, Australia, from all over the world. Now, while a lot of the different lenders that you would get access, for example, in Europe to go to European schools, are only able to fund European citizens or sometimes Americans. So it's really important for us to remember that Prodigy Finance, when it was conceived about 10 years ago by 3 INSEAD classmates, because they saw that all the students around them that were coming from all these developing nations didn't have access to funding the same way that Europeans and Americans did. So I definitely encourage you to apply. There's a very few limited countries that we're not able to lend to regulatory reasons, but it's a very wide group of nationalities. And actually, I would say that 80 to 85% of the students that we lend to come from countries that are from developing nations.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And we're getting lots of questions through still, but just to say, if there's a question that we haven't already answered, please do submit it and we'll try and answer it within this session. So do keep them coming. Okay, so Joel, we have a question from Ebenezer. Ebenezer would like to know what happens when a borrower completes his studies and returns back to his country. How do you ensure loan repayment?
Good one. Yeah, we do make sure we follow up on you. Just real quick, I just saw some further questions come through on my last answer, so I do want to clarify for the scholarship. If you've already applied for the scholarship and you weren't selected in the April selections, you do not need to do anything else. But if you haven't and you're possibly a new borrower or you've recently gotten to the loan approved status, you do need to apply for the scholarship, and you can do that on the application, and you will receive notification about that. With regard to switching gears for those students who have graduated, returned back to home country, so of course we do want to make sure that you repay your loan, not only for the health and future of Prodigy, but also for your future. The world is really built on credit, and Prodigy is an enabling borderless credit, but we want to make sure that you're building strong credit for your own financial life. So we will work with you to set up a variety of repayment options in your home country so that you can make sure that your loans are paid on time. But if you do find yourself in trouble, whether that is economic hardship or sometimes life just happens, we've seen a variety of situations that come up, please do get in touch with us. We've worked with many borrowers over the years to come up with a variety of arrangements so that you can get back on the right track, get back to a current repayment status. Please do know that if you do attempt to kind of cut the cord and stop communicating with us, we do have the ability to enforce our loans in all of the countries that we work with. Luckily, we have fantastic borrowers and have had amazing repayment rates over the last 10 years. But please do appreciate that this is a financial product that we are extending credit to. And if you do decide not to repay it, you will face enforcement in your local home country.
Thank you. And also, Rahim, I know you had a very similar question that just came through, so I hope that answers it for you as well. Okay, so the next question that we have is actually related to our community benefits. We've spoken a bit about scholarship, and there's still lots of questions coming through from that. But there's also been a question about what the other benefits are that we offer as a company, but beyond our loan offering itself. So Sarah, for you.
Sure. So our benefits usually fall into 3 different categories. They're very much based on where you're at in your journey whilst you're studying. So the first category, of course, is even before you arrive on campus. And so from that point when your loan's approved to the point when you arrive on campus, we'll send a series of emails and offer you benefits to help get you settled when you arrive on campus. So that's everything from helping you find housing in your new country, to getting your mobile plan set up. That's really specific to the US since it's a bit tricky there. We'll also offer fun things like packing lists and opportunities for you to transfer your savings over at an affordable rate. We're continuing to build up those benefits as we go along. So we've had lots and lots of suggestions in, and do make sure that you opt in to receive those messages so that you can take advantage of those benefits once your loan has been approved. As an aside, the way that you can opt into that is on your Prodigy Finance dashboard. Just check on your settings in the upper right-hand corner and make sure to choose your communications preferences so that you do hear from us when we launch new benefits that would be helpful to you. So that's prior to arriving on campus. Once you're actually studying, our focus at the moment is really on careers benefits and making sure that you're able to land that internship in the job that you'd like. we will continue to build out additional things there as well. And of course, to continue to have access to preferential FX rates, to preferential housing, and to some of those other things that help get you set up in your new host country. Switching over to alumni after you graduate, again, additional careers benefits will unlock at that point. And again, we'll continue to build out new things that will help get you settled in your new job, possibly in a new city, and even a community of folks who will help you land there, other Prodigy borrowers who might have settled there earlier. So it happens in those 3 phases, and as you kind of move through that journey, you'll unlock new benefits as you go along. If you'd like the specifics on that, they are on our community page on the website, so you'll be able to look through and just see what's coming for you and get a little preview of that. I hope that helps.
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we've had another scholarship question. Joel, the question is, why are any of the standard tests and eligibility of the scholarship application? I really wanted to apply for the scholarship, but my master's application had the GMAT test as optional, so I didn't sit for it. And that's from Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, it's a great question. I think that we appreciate that there are a lot of programs out there that have flexibility with regard to what their entrance requirements are. That being said, we do require the test score for the associated program for GMAT for business, GRE for others, LSAT for others, excuse me, because we really do need one metric to form the merit-based component of our scholarship. It really is the best way for us to objectively assess the applicants. We are always looking to improve the scholarship. If you've been following Prodigy for the last few years, you've seen that we've continued to evolve the program to incorporate more and more borrowers who can apply and be eligible. But at this point, yeah, that is going to be a requirement for our merit assessment.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so Ricardo, we have a question from Rohan. Rohan, you're killing it. You're sending us so many questions. I absolutely love it. Please keep them coming. So the question is, during 6 months after education, can I reduce my loan principal amount with the income I have earned during OPT?
Yes, I love this question. So we encourage it from Prodigy Finance, every student to try to prepay as early and as fast as they can. So it's very important. Aside from no cosigner, no collateral, our loan has 0 prepayment penalties. 0 prepayment penalties, which is really important. We have students that get a $20,000, $25,000 signing bonus from their company right when they start, and they apply it to reduce all of their loans. The earlier you pay, the less interest you'll have outstanding on your total amount. So we definitely encourage everyone to prepay, and you definitely do it as you get income coming in through your OPT. Yeah?
Okay, fantastic. Joel, we've had another question from Shriram, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the question is, I understand that Prodigy Finance is a London-based company. Does the loan disbursement and repayment have Forex charges?
Very good question. So we are always going to offer loans in the currency of the tuition. So for example, if you're attending school in the US, you're going to receive a US dollar loan. The loan is going to be sent right to the school, so there's no Forex conversion on your side for disbursement. If you're going to school in the UK or in Europe, sometimes you will have the choice of what currency you want to use, if that's USD, GBP, or Euro. With regard to repayment, you will be required to make repayment in the currency in which the loan was denominated. So if you do come to the US and you take a US dollar loan, and let's say you return to Brazil, you will still need to make repayments in USD. We do have a variety of repayment methods. We're constantly scouring the globe to make sure that we can offer a variety of tools so that students who do need to make cross-currency payments can do that at the lowest cost to them, make sure they're getting the best spot rates available. But if you were trying to repay into that currency from a different home currency, you would incur the Forex impact at that point, but not on the disbursement side.
Great, thank you very much. We've had quite an interesting question for you, Sarah, and this one is actually slightly more about Prodigy's careers than our career services.
Sure.
And the question is, does Prodigy provide part-time jobs for successfully loaned students?
Yes, in fact we do. And those are mostly done on a contractual basis, so it's usually for a very specific project. For example, let's say we want to do a market entry into a new country. We'll send that out to our borrowers, make it available to everyone, and ask for applications in for that. Those contracts typically have a fixed fee or monthly fee and an expectation that you'll work part-time for a certain number of hours. That'll all be spec'd out in the scope of work. So we do publish those fairly regularly. I would guess that in the past year we've probably sent out about 10 of them, maybe even a few more. I might be missing some. So yes, we absolutely do, and we do offer sort of preferential screening, let's say, for our current borrowers to pick up those projects and run with them. I think I should mention here, I know this wasn't
please go ahead.
part of the
Please go
question,
ahead.
but I think I should also mention that we do offer a summer internship opportunity as well. At the moment, it's open to business school students, and so this summer, in just a couple of weeks, we'll be taking on 3 MBA interns into our New York and London offices. So that's something that you'll see on an annual basis, just another opportunity to get to know Prodigy and come into our offices.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And it's really fun to have all those faces here joining us over the summer, so definitely something we enjoy as a team as well. So we've actually had some questions about the recording of this video. I know that people are dropping in and out, and particularly Streamer has asked, will the recording be available after the event? So we just want to say to everyone that's listening now, if you do want to access the full webinar, obviously this is 3 hours long, we don't anticipate you staying for the whole thing, please just email us at ama@prodigyfinance.com and we will send you the copy of the recording. And obviously we'd very much love for you to see more of it. So that's great, okay. And then we have another question, and this one is for you, Ricardo. The question is from Ebenezer. Ebenezer, you're sending us some great questions, please keep them coming. If an international student is unable to get a study visa, is it possible to defer an approved loan to the next academic session?
Great question. So yes, so the same way that you could defer your start in your school, we mimic and follow very closely the academic cycle, and you'll be able to do a very similar process with our loan application. We just put it on standby, then you need to just tweak a little bit when the incoming year starts. But before, obviously, you have that challenge, I do encourage you to take a look at our FAQ and actually to identify potential visa questions that you may have, because we see that the visa questions are actually the second most asked questions after how do I finance my degree, you know, how do I actually get visa, solving visa problems. So we try to help a lot of our students in that process. So we definitely do encourage you to take a look at our FAQ, our different WhatsApp groups, so we've actually been able to help a lot of students with their visas.
Thank you for that, Ricardo. We have time for, I think, 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap up this session and move on. So this one's for you, Joel, and it's actually from Vishal. He would like to know what documents are required to support his application.
Thanks, Vishal. This is a question we probably get asked second most to the one that Ricardo just answered. So the easiest thing is right on our website, you can see the required documents. There's going to be a few required documents that everyone needs to provide. These are going to be basic documents to make sure that we understand all about you. So things like proof of identity, proof of address, proof of admission, because we want to make sure that we're obviously only issuing loans to those students who are actually attending schools. We're also going to ask questions about proof of scholarship, if that's applicable. If you do have a savings portion of your budget, we're going to ask for proof of savings. We may ask a few other questions depending on your application. So for a full list, I would always recommend taking a look at our FAQs. You will also see that once you receive your provisional offer, you'll immediately get a notification of the documents that you need to provide, and we will guide you all through the process.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so Ricardo, we have one last question, and this one comes from Devendra. And Devendra would like to know what the turnaround time is for approving a loan.
Yeah, so we've had loans that have been approved within 24 hours, and then we've had loans that obviously take a couple of weeks to get approved. Based on the last response that Joel gave regarding the documents, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to get their documents ready. So we do really encourage you to take a look at the FAQ and all of the documents that you need ready. The faster you send them to us, the faster we'll be able to turn around. But as I said, we've been able to complete applications in record time, and unfortunately some of them get delayed because of complexity with certain addresses or certain documents that are needed.
Okay, well, that wraps up this session. So thank you very much to Ricardo, Joel, and Sarah for taking 30 minutes of their time out of today to answer all of your questions. We're actually going to switch over to the next session now. So thank you very much, you guys. Really appreciate your time. And I believe that we have Zach and Yue also in joining the line.
Yep, we do. And thank you, everybody. It is 1:30. So we are kind of restarting our sessions. As we've talked about, the first session is going to be an opportunity to speak to some of our market heads, folks who are actually in the market, speaking to our customers. They can answer any questions about our product, our process. And then after that, we will have one more session where you can ask some of the other leaders of the organization about things that are going on at Prodigy, maybe a little bit of our history, maybe some questions about where we're going from here. We welcome to continue to feed questions in if you haven't already. Also, if you do have questions that come up that are pertaining to your particular application, we would recommend go ahead, sign into the platform. We have live chat agents standing by. They're ready to help you with your questions. Alternatively, you can also always email us at info@prodigyfinance.com. And if you go ahead and put AMA in the subject line, our other agents are standing by ready to kind of speedily get on that. So please do keep the questions coming on a broad level. If you do have specific questions for yourself, we have folks ready to help you as well. And we're going to kick off the next session with some folks both in our London and New York offices. And over to you, guys.
Great. Hey, Zach.
Hey, everyone. How are you?
Good. Is Yue on the line? There she is.
Yes.
Hey, Yue.
Yes, I'm on the line. Okay, let's see the web.
Hey, Yue.
I just need to change our web.
Zach, would you like to start with introducing yourself?
Sure, no problem. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Zach Hirschfeld. I'm based in the New York office. I've been with Prodigy for about 3 years now, so I'm well versed in all of the problems that students may face and all the opportunities that Prodigy Finance can help give students like you. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about any part of the business, any part of our loan offering. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm excited to answer your questions today.
Great. And over to you, Yue. Do you want to just give us a brief intro of who you are and what you do at Prodigy?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Yue. I'm working at London office. So basically, my responsibility at Prodigy Finance is to develop partnerships in the region of China. So I'm responsible for all the activities happening, engagement with students from China. So if you have any questions regarding our China activities, you are more than welcome to answer. I'm very happy to be here to answer all your questions.
Great. And hi, everyone. My name is Boaz Velkin. I spend my time between the New York office and the London office. I also work in our business development team. So I manage the relationships with different business schools like London Business School, Kellogg, Darden, to name a few. And then I'm also involved in a number of other projects like fintech panels at the different schools that we work on, and also different regional partnership trips. And I've been to India for Prodigy Finance, Brazil, and Colombia. So let's get started. This one's for you, Zach. It's from Devendra. What is the use of a provisional offer if the university does not accept it?
Sure, good question. Thank you, Devendra. So provisional offer is really meant for you, the student, to get the information you need to make a decision as soon as possible. So the components of a provisional offer, for anyone tuning in that doesn't know, a provisional offer, once you submit your application and you go through our credit assessment model, most students get a provisional offer within a few seconds. And in this provisional offer, we'll tell you the interest rate for your loan, we'll tell you the loan amount that you're approved for that current academic year, and then any following periods, what you're pre-approved for. We'll also tell you your maximum loan repayment period, as well as your annual percentage rate, APR. We disclose all of these factors to your loan offer ahead of time, and this is actually before you go through the verification process. So we want you to be informed with all the details up front, and then if you accept it, if you say, hey, that's a great offer, I want to continue, you can then go through the verification process and provide some supporting documentation simply to make sure that whatever you said in your application is in fact correct. So that's what we would need to fully approve the loan, but the provisional offer is more to give you the details so that you can be comfortable in moving forward with the process.
Great, and Zach, sort of linked to that, why would a provisional offer not match a final offer?
Sure, so the provisional offer is provisional because you have not gone through that verifying of the documents portion yet. So there may be some facets to your application which may have been incorrect, or something comes up in the meantime that we actually would not be able to fully approve your loan, or to approve it to the loan amounts that exactly you need. So I'll give you an example. One document that we require in the verification process is a credit report from your home country. And that credit report is not in the actual credit assessment of your application. So you don't need a certain score necessarily to qualify for an amount, but it's really a check to understand that you have not been delinquent or defaulted on any accounts in your home country. So it's more of just a check, a screen to make sure, okay, you're in relative good standing within your home country. If you are, you move forward with the process, and and you're good to go with the loan approval. If not, if something is flagged on that credit report that you have not yet disclosed on your application, we would simply need to follow up with you via email or via phone to understand a little bit more about that particular situation. So that is one particular instance where a provisional offer won't necessarily match a full-on loan approval.
Great, thanks, Zach. This one's for you, Yue. It is from Divakar. I'll be applying for a loan in 2 weeks' time. Is there a situation of Prodigy going out of funds and not being able to provide me with a loan?
Okay, so for this specific questions, so normally in 2 weeks' time, it is actually a little bit tight. But normally, if you are very quickly, because our online application, you just need 30 minutes to submit the applications, and the provisional offer will come instantly or in 48 hours. So actually, it's really fast. So the speed of your application get approved really depends on how fast you're gonna upload your documents. If you got everything is ready to go, and then if you can upload in 1 week, actually we can proceed the whole process a lot faster. So depending on your uploading documents, so I think we will be able to also speed up on your applications so that you won't miss any deadlines for your schools.
Great, and just to add to that is that no, we're not going to run out of funds. We have funded over 10,000 students, equal to over $500 million. So don't worry about that aspect. Okay, Zach, going back to you. I have an interesting one from Jared in Cape Town, who says he recently took a big career jump into aviation. He knows plenty of individuals in a very similar position to him. Funding this process without a co-signer would be a nightmare. Would Prodigy ever consider helping pilots on a case-by-case basis?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Jared, for asking that. So we do actually come across this question a lot, not only from aviation programs, but from a number of professional programs around the world. I would say from the story of Prodigy Finance, we started with MBA programs because that was a type of program that we could easily understand from a credit risk model, as well as the demand from both students and schools alike allowed us to create a product here. In terms of aviation programs, we would simply need to gather a much more robust understanding of employment statistics and employment models that we can actually create a credit model around this. So that's one component. And the other component is we're funneling funds from a wide range of investors that give us criteria based on the type of programs that they themselves want to fund as investors. So the short answer to that is that as of right now, we have not come across specific investors that are interested and have given us funds for aviation programs specifically. But that is not to say that if there were appetite and demand in the future, we would be able to. It's just simply now in this current year, we do not have the ability to fund aviation programs.
Great, thanks, Zach. And then Yue, this is for you. It's from Fabrice. Do you finance entirely students who don't have any savings, scholarships, or other sources of funding?
Okay, cool. So actually, our company Prodigy Finance is built on a belief that we believe that funding should not be a barrier to your education. So your personal savings and your family's assets, whether you have it, it will not have a negative effect on your student's loan. So basically, as long as you get an offer, from one of the 300 different schools over the world, and we will be able to help you. As long as where you apply the school is not your residence country, you are eligible to apply for the loan. So again, our students' loan will not require any co-sellers and any collaterals. So whether your family has assets or not will not have an effect.
Great. And then quick follow-up question from Fabrice. Do you help the borrower to get the visa from his or her home country?
Yes, definitely. So after you get a loan approved from Prodigy Finance, we will give you a loan confirmation letter. And this letter is for you to apply for visa. For I-20, for visa, you are ready to go with this letter. And we are providing this letter for free as well.
Great, thank you. And then for you, Zach, from Rohan, what will happen if I convert my MS to a PhD? What happens in terms of repayment with that scenario?
Sure, absolutely. Good question, Rohan. And we actually come across this question often from students, whether they're on campus and in an MS program and want to extend, or from the outset they're thinking about a PhD program. So with Prodigy, our funding, like I said earlier, comes from a certain amount of investors, which actually determine criteria based on the length of the program that we can actually support. So with Prodigy Finance, we can fund programs for MS that are 2 years or less in length. So as undoubtedly you know, a PhD program would be longer than that. So for those cases, no, we cannot support PhD programs. If you are in an MS program and for some reason at a later date need to extend it into a PhD or something like that, unfortunately you would not be able to defer payments for a long time while you do the PhD program. So it's something to consider for you, as with Prodigy Finance loans, there's a grace period of 6 months after graduation of the MS program. So you would be asked to start making monthly payments 6 months after that course ends. So you just need to make sure that you're going to be in a situation where you'd be able to make those repayments. So we would not be able to do any deferment or anything like that were you to go into a PhD program.
Great. And a quick follow-up from Rohan, is there a way to avoid processing fees being added to the principal amount by paying now?
So processing fees, I'm not sure exactly what Rohan mentioning. Perhaps he's talking about interest costs accruing during school. Certainly with Prodigy Finance, there's only one fee ever we charge, and that's an admin fee. So for STEM programs, it's 2.5% of your total loan amount, and that is not charged up front. That is actually added to the loan upon your first disbursement. So you will actually be paying that admin fee off at the same time that you actually pay off the principal of the loan. So if you want to save on interest costs associated with that particular admin fee, what you can do if you want is to make regular monthly payments during your study period, and effectively you would be paying that off before you start to accrue interest on it. But that is completely optional. So we don't ask you to repay anything until 6 months after graduation, because we believe that as a company you should be focused on your studies and not figuring out how to repay your loan provider during your classes.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, this one is for you, Yue. Let's do. Is there any? Sorry. How do you determine? Sorry, Yue, this is for you. How do you decide what someone's interest rate is? What are the variables that are involved in the process?
Okay, so the interest rate we gave to you is actually very tailored to your situation. So everybody will get a different interest rate depending on which program you will go and depending on your personal profile. So of course, if you have a different situation, you go to different school, you might get a very different interest rate. But what we can tell is interest rate is decided case by case, and it's totally tailored to your personal background. And again, whether you have housing assets, whether you have other collateral situations, it will not have negative effect on your interest rate.
Great, thank you. Zach, this one's for you from Thomas. He filled out an application, and although he's in the US, he's not a resident. However, he filled out the application and was denied because the application thought he was a resident in the United States. Is there a way to redo the application?
So absolutely, Thomas, you can redo your application. We would have to figure out exactly if you are eligible for a Prodigy loan, because as you may have heard earlier, Prodigy is specifically geared towards international students, and we have to fully understand that you are an international student. Even if you have been living in the US for some time, as I'm sure you know, some students are not eligible to get domestic funding within the US. However, you would need to pass a requirement, which is what we call habitual residency. So we need to ensure that you have not been living in the US for a certain period of time that would make you ineligible for our funding. So what I would recommend is for you to actually access live chat, which is going on right now. You can go log into your application, go to your dashboard, click on the questions box in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can access live chat from there. We have customer service representatives standing by that actually can look at your application and figure out exactly what the issue was for you. So what we can do is they can walk through that application, and if needed, you can simply create a new application under your same profile and restart the process and make sure we're able to help you if you are eligible.
Great, and this is from Sharon. Does Prodigy offer any other products like insurance? And if so, what does it entail?
So a couple of things. So we don't offer any insurance products. I know a lot of students may, in their home country, if you're looking at a different loan provider, they may actually mandate that you purchase insurance on a loan. That is actually all built into the Prodigy process. So we actually don't believe that you should need to purchase an extra policy or an extra charge an insurance fee for that. It's all built into the Prodigy system. So no, we do not offer that or mandate that you purchase any insurance.
Great. And then, okay, for the next sort of 5 or 6 minutes, I'd like to do some rapid fire questions. So your answers need to be less than 20 seconds. So all just keep it moving to the point. So
are we going to be timed?
It's a flexible 20 seconds. I don't have a stopwatch.
Okay, I can time it.
Okay, Marian's going to do it. So we're going to start with you, UA.
Okay.
Can I repay early? Go.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear the question. Sorry about that.
Can I repay the loan early?
Yes, definitely. You can repay your loan anytime you want, even before 6 months you graduated, and you will actually, reduce the interest you will pay eventually.
Great. Zach, what the heck is APR?
You want me to do this in 20 seconds, huh?
Go.
APR is a comparison tool. It is not your interest rate. APR is a comparison tool where you can compare your annual cost of borrowing across other lenders. So do not think of APR as your interest rate. It's a comparison tool.
Great. And Zach, if I don't repay the loan, what do you do?
We have a legal enforcement model in place where in any country that you're living in, we can actually enforce the loan in the local jurisdiction. We have done so, unfortunately, a couple of times and have come out successful in those jurisdictions.
Great. And for you, UA, how long does it take to usually process the loan on average?
So average time from after you submit your application to loan approved, it can be from 2 weeks to 1 month.
Great. And Zach, going back to APR or EMI, which is a similar equivalent in India, not quite the same, what happens to it if you prepay the loan early?
Your interest accrues on a reducing balance. So if you repay early, you actually save a drastic amount on those interest costs that would have accrued had you not repaid early.
Great. And for you, Zach, you spend so much time on campus at our US schools. What do you get up to on these trips?
We host a lot of events on campus for students. We go to local coffee shops, meet with administrators, have even hosted happy hour or two at a local bar. So we definitely try to have a good time with students when we're on campus, while also making sure that all their questions are answered.
Great. And for you, Marian, what's your favorite thing about working at Prodigy Finance?
It's probably all of the people that I work with. We have a very international team. I think there's something like 35 different nationalities, and we're a growing, very fast-growing team. I think there's just over 160 of us at the moment. So being able to work with people from all around the world and being able to have meetings just like this really makes us live our values of being borderless and makes it a lot of fun as well. So I would say the people that I work with is probably my favorite thing.
Awesome. Great. And then for you, UA, when does the interest start accruing? Is it from when it's dispersed to the school or to the student? When does interest start accruing?
Yes, it will start accruing when the first disbursement has dispersed to your school.
Great. And Zach, is repaying earlier equivalent to taking a reduced loan amount?
Is repaying earlier equivalent to taking a reduced loan amount? Yes, it can be. So a lot of students will take a certain loan amount, let's say $40,000 in the first year, and they realize midway through the year that they actually only need $30,000. You can simply repay early the $10,000 that you get dispersed, and effectively you would cease to accrue interest on that $10,000 you repaid. So effectively, you'd be taking a $30,000 loan.
Great, and I just want to take this time to just make everyone aware that this recording will be available to everyone afterwards, and please check out our blog at prodigyfinance.com. And if you have any other questions, you can also have a look at our FAQs, which is also at prodigyfinance.com. But I think we still have about 5 more minutes.
Yes.
So I'm going to keep with the rapid fire. So this is for you, UA. Is there any minimum requirement to be approved for a loan by Prodigy?
Yeah, absolutely. So to be able to apply for a loan and to get a loan proof, you need to definitely have an admission letter from the school you apply. So we will need to have this admission letter. This is actually very minimal. And of course, you also need to prove where you live right now is not where you're gonna go to school. These two are the minimum requirement we're gonna need from you.
Great. And Zach, do you give loans for PhDs?
We do not. Only master's programs.
Great. And how does the disbursement for the loan work? Can you get for tuition fees? Can you get for living expenses? What happens there?
Yep, absolutely. So Prodigy Finance funds can be used for both tuition and living expenses. We always send the funds on your behalf directly to the university though, so regardless of how you're using it. How that will work is we send the full amount to the school. The school takes what they need for tuition fees, and that remaining amount that's left over will be transferred from the school to your personal bank account that's tied to the school. From there, you can use the funds however you wish.
Fantastic. And let's say, God forbid, something horrible happens to me. What would happen with the loan? Is there life insurance? What happens there?
So we take those cases actually on a case-by-case basis. We are a responsible and considerate lender, so we never want to burden students and their families because of some awful incident. So in those cases, you and your family would simply need to follow up with us to make sure that everything is in check, and we will be able to complete the process with you going forward.
Great. And for you, Yue, what's the scholarship process at Prodigy and how does it work with the loan?
Okay, so we offer each year $10,000, give back to our communities. So after you get a loan approved from Prodigy Finance, you are eligible to apply for our scholarships. So you just need to apply some simple information about your studies and why you want to apply for scholarship. And then normally we will release scholarship twice each year. One is in April and one is in October. So.
Great, thank you so much. All right, Zach, this is for you. I've been admitted into 2 schools. I'm having to make 2 separate applications.
Sorry, it broke up there. Can you repeat the question?
So someone has been admitted to 2 schools and they want to know if they can have one application for 2 schools as opposed to 2 separate applications.
Got it. So in a short answer, no, you will need to create applications per program. You may have heard earlier, we've been chatting about our credit model and how the credit model is based on per program. So you may be assessed differently depending on which program you attend, which is why it's crucial that you have a separate application per program. However, you can have 2 applications live at one given time. You can actually get 2 provisional offers at any given time. However, in order to complete the loan application process and actually accept that provisional offer, you can only proceed with one application, so one program. So what I would recommend is that if you have one that you would prefer to take, continue with that. And then if you end up changing your mind.
Oh, looks like we may have lost New York temporarily.
And later we can. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back.
Yes, we can.
Just end it so that you can.
Were you able to hear my answer? I can repeat it.
I think just the second part of your answer you cut out.
Sure. So quite simply, you would need 2 separate applications. You can have 2 provisional offers at any given time. However, in order to move through the process and actually formally approve the loan, you can only move forward after provisional offer with 1 application, which is why it's important for you, if you have one particular program in mind that you wish to continue with, go forward with that. And if you change your mind.
Sorry, I think we just lost New York there for another second. Okay, I'm going to wrap up there. Thanks to Zach and Yue for participating, and to our lovely marketing team for helping me moderate with the questions and setting everything up. And thanks to all our participants. As a reminder, you'll be able to see all the previous sessions. We're going to have a recording for everything, and kind of all the answers are on our website as well. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next up, we have 3 new speakers for you. And just to recap, over the course of the sessions today, this is going to be our 6th session. We've had a number of different people from across Prodigy Finance coming to speak to everyone and answer all the questions that have been submitted in the live chat today. So if you do have any questions that you want answered live by our team, please do submit them through. Our moderators are on hand and sending them through, so that we'll try and answer as many of them as possible. And so I'm really, really excited to introduce three people to you today. So first of all, Joel, who's our Head of Americas, Michael, who's our Chief Product Officer, and Hallie, who works in our Business Development team. So welcome everyone, they're based in New York. So first of all, do you want to introduce yourselves in terms of what you do at Prodigy Finance and so on?
Yeah, we've been on all day. Good.
Hi, I'm Michael Smith. I'm the Chief Product Officer. I've been here an entire 2 months, but luckily the team's been great at getting me up to speed, so I feel like I know what we're doing. Yeah, great to speak with all of you.
Hi guys, I'm Hallie. I'm a business development manager here in New York, and I look after sort of some of the opportunities to unlock growth in the North American market. I've been with Prodigy for almost 2 years, which is record time in New York, I'd say, and coming from a really kind of diverse perspective in education. So loving the work that we do here and excited to speak with all of you today.
And then we've already met Joel many times today, so I'm sure people are familiar if you've been on here for a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to kickstart some of the questions. The first one is for you, Michael. So as you mentioned just now, you've been here for almost 2 months now. And so you obviously recently joining may have been a bit of a culture change from where you were before. So in your role as Chief Product Officer, how have you found that shift to a sort of a fintech in growth stages?
Yeah, so pardon me, I've got a little cold going on here, so my voice is a little bit funny. But so if it breaks, it's not because I'm going to the computer. No, I've really I think Prodigy really, it's like I joined for the mission. Naturally, you can really feel that inside the company. Unlike many just raw high growth companies, that the sense of camaraderie and the care for the students is pretty obvious the entire time here. As far as the other things, I think the only thing that one of the most interesting things for me is the cyclicality and the understanding that this kind of the product itself and our students' needs are so tied to the cycle. I have to change the way I continuously ship and release to being very sensitive to the fact that that we've got very limited periods of time in which we can make a big difference for our customers. As a result, next year I'm trying to figure out how I can do that ship and iterate and tweaks quickly.
I think we've just lost signal with New York there for a second. We'll just wait for them to come back in. Please hang tight and they'll be right back. Sorry, Michael, we lost you for the last 20 seconds or so there.
No worries, no worries. I was just saying I am I'm excited to try to take on that challenge, to try to instead build a product where we can tweak a little bit more iteratively, but during a smaller period of time. So it's an interesting product challenge.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to jump into some of the questions that were still streaming through the live chat feature. Please keep them coming. So this one is for you, Joel, and it's from Rohan. Why do we need to renew our loan in second year? Can't we have our loan confirmed for the whole 2 years?
It's a great question. So many of our students are entering 2-year programs, and you can apply for your first year, but actually when you apply, we're going to ask you to complete your full budget, so how you're going to pay for your program across both years. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a provisional offer for year 1 and actually a pre-approval for year 2. So when we do the assessment on what we believe you can afford for your program, we actually are taking in both years into account. But we also want to give a little bit of flexibility because we do know things change. So we will ask you to return in your second year, to complete that process, make sure that nothing materially has changed. Sometimes students secure additional scholarships. Sometimes they find other savings, or maybe they want a slightly lower loan. So we just ask you to come back in during your first year so we can kind of finalize everything for your second year loan.
Thank you very much. Hallie, this one's for you. We've actually had a couple of questions related to the scholarship, and I think it's really just about how the program works. So one of the questions is, what's the scholarship procedure at Prodigy and how does it work with the loan? And then another one is, how can we increase our chances of receiving a scholarship from Prodigy Finance?
Great. Yeah, the scholarship has been a really exciting feature for us and something that we've seen grow over the last couple of years. So in terms of the procedure, there are 2 application dates per year, but you only need to submit 1 application to be considered for both rounds. So that's 1+. You can submit early and be considered twice. The scholarship is a hybrid.
We'll just give them 1 minute. They'll be back again. Hi, Hallie. We lost you. Yep, we lost you when you said scholarship is a hybrid.
Got it. It's a hybrid between a merit-based and a need-based program. So we have a little bit of information about your financial background, but we'll be asking for some more information about your test scores, so relevant GMAT, GRE. We'll also ask you to participate in a financial literacy quiz and just make sure that you really kind of have brushed up on your understanding of the loan terms that are presented to you by Prodigy Finance. And you'll complete a statement of purpose, effectively a scholarship application paragraph. So a really well articulated paragraph about how the scholarship is going to impact your future and the career goals that you have through your study program is definitely a strong way to increase your chances of being selected.
Okay,
and I think you asked Marion about how the process works with the loan. And so effectively scholarship winners are notified when they've been selected for the prize, which is a $10,000 prize at this time. We've got 10 of those plus 1 for women in tech. And winners receive that in the form of effectively the $10,000 gets sliced off of the loan principal that you have with Prodigy.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Hallie. Michael, this one's for you. And so I think someone has been on your LinkedIn profile and had a look to see that you've actually done an MBA. And they want to understand how doing the MBA helped you get into a more financial role, especially as Chief Product Officer at Prodigy.
Yeah, so I think that's an MBA is obviously amazingly helpful to understand how just companies work in general. And before that, you know, I was an engineer, so I knew how to build stuff, but I didn't know why I was building a lot of stuff. And obviously, it helps you understand how businesses, how the flow of money works through businesses, and of course, financial company is a special variant of that. I find the best thing about an MBA is ever since that I've changed domains a lot, gone from like mobile phones to ad tech to apps on the phone to now
Sorry, everyone. I think the computer in New York is getting warm. We'll give them a moment.
Let us know when we're back.
You're back. You're back. So I think we lost you when you were saying apps on the phone.
So with an MBA, a very classic thing to do is a business case more than once a week. And so that teaches you how to very quickly understand the important levers within a company. And so as a result, I walked into Prodigy Finance, talked with a couple people at a very high level and understood how the business mechanics worked. And how I could contribute to that, and how I needed to align product development for that. So it is the skill set that you kind of learn as an MBA.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Joel, this question is for you. It's from Ibrahim, and it's a very specific question, but ultimately it's around eligibility and certainly for programs that we may or may not support. So Ibrahim's question is, I realize Columbia University Mailman School of Public Health is not on your list of schools. Would I still be able to apply for a loan from Prodigy?
Thanks for the question. So I think it's important to look at the history of Prodigy since we started. So when we first started, we were launched at INSEAD for the MBA program. And for the first few years, we only supported MBA programs. We then were able to expand our coverage in 2014 to all of the business graduate programs, so from the Financial Times Top 100
global business schools. And then in 2016, we were excited to expand to all STEM programs, including engineering. We also added all law programs, postgraduate, as well as policy. We are actually starting to look at some health programs right now. You may have seen some brand new piloted programs in dental health. We are always looking for other programs that meet our criteria. So if you do have a health program, please do reach out to us. We're happy to take a look. But just so you know, as we do launch programs, you will see that live. So I will say that if your program is not currently listed, it probably is not available for this coming year. But again, specifically with regard to health or dental, if you don't see your program, please do reach out.
And I know that we launched about 35 new programs just this week alone. So just reiterating Joel's point to keep checking back and reach out to us with your specific request. Fantastic. Okay, so the next one is for you, Hallie. The question is from Sanchit. After the loan is confirmed, how long does the team take to upload the loan agreement?
Oh, that's a good question. So when the loan is confirmed, one of the first steps that we go through is to provide you with a loan agreement, but then we also send some information to the university, which is where we'll ultimately be dispersing the funds. That's called a certification. I don't know if you guys have spoken about this already today, but I'll just give a quick sort of description of what that is. And basically, if we're going to be sending funds on your behalf to the university, we want to let the school know that those are coming, and so we do that through certification. Once the school receives the certification, they confirm that that's the amount of money that they're expecting to receive on a student's behalf, and or make any adjustments that might be required based on, changes since that time the certification was created. So that might be if the school since awarded you a higher scholarship, they would let us know. But most of the time the school rubber stamps those certifications, sends it back to Prodigy, and that's really what sets us up to be able to send you a final loan agreement that you could electronically sign once you land on campus.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hallie. Michael, this one's for you, and it's again looking to the future from a product specific standpoint. So are there any new products that we are likely to launch in the near future?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that we know that is a big pain point for our users is payback, paying us back. So we're launching a mobile app, which is going to be our short-term method long-term method to be able to pay back. Where long-term plan is to make that like another portal to be able to do a large amount of the things for Prodigy Finance through that app. That will probably take us well into 2019 to unlock a large portion of that. But the first thing we know that we're trying to do is make sure that we launch a really flexible way to pay back very easily. That's going to be first available in the United States for USD loans, but we plan to make that available globally.
Really excited about that. I know that Simon also spoke about the mobile app at the beginning of about 3 hours ago about it, so I'm glad that you brought that back up again for anyone who's only recently joined. So that is incoming. We have a great question. I'm really excited about this one. For Hallie, this is from Pune. How can I be a contributor and promoter of Prodigy within my community and country?
Woohoo! So there are lots of ways to contribute and promote Prodigy Finance's services. On one hand, we've got a great referral program, so you can use the referral sort of link on your dashboard. It's just in your top right menu when you're logged into your Prodigy Finance dashboard. You can share referrals with friends and families who you know might also be seeking funding for a program that we support. There's a bonus to that, which is that if you're successful in your referral and your friend or family receives a loan from Prodigy Finance that gets dispersed, you also get a Amazon voucher in the form of $150 US for your reward. You can get up to 2 of those. So you can score some pretty great rewards for just contributing to others' ability to access financing. If you really want to go above and beyond, we also have an amazing brand ambassador program. You can learn actually all about that on our website if you go to the community section. But I'll give you a little bit of an overview. This is a program by which the kind of top tier students who really believe in our mission and want to help kind of continue to pay forward the ability to receive funding across the international student landscape They work closely with our team to participate in a number of different initiatives to promote Prodigy Finance's brand and culture and products and services to their communities, both at home as well as on campus. And they receive some really sort of special perks for that, that could include things like access to premium professional development services within Prodigy, all the way through to kind of like special swag at the end of the year to really kind of shine and share their contribution to Prodigy Finance amongst their communities.
Fantastic, thank you. It's one of our really exciting programs, out as well as offering our loans as our community benefit side of things as well. And our ambassadors are such a core part of our vision, so really excited about that. Joel, here's a question for you from Ravi, and this is around visas. And I know we've had a lot of questions around visas today. So the question is, how does a visa officer consider a loan agreement from Prodigy Finance? I want to know the perception of a visa officer on Prodigy Finance.
Thanks. That's a really important question for this time of the year. So once you get to an approved loan, you will receive a loan confirmation letter from us. You'll receive that digitally. If you do require a hard copy, you can request it. There is a small fee. We will send that to you via DHL. Most of our borrowers will just utilize the electronic version. That letter will come from Prodigy. That will lay out the terms of your loan that you've secured. And to date, we've been very successful with the visa officers utilizing that letter as proof of funds for school. We also work with many of the schools themselves to ensure that their internal international offices are comfortable with using this letter. If you do, for any reason, encounter problems, please do reach out to us. We have helped many students in the past with this. But in general, the loan confirmation letter that you receive will be successful for proof of funds towards your education.
Great, thank you very much. Michael, this one's for you. It's again another future-facing question and looking more on the product side. So how can product impact the future of fintech?
Well, I think the primary, it's a great question because it's quite deep. But I think the primary thing is the way the product can affect it. Product isn't typically a role that's in a lot of older financial institutions. It comes from the heritage of like user first and the very commercial facing applications and the internet and all that stuff, and those companies tend to work at scale now, and also with a speed that and sensitivity to the user problems that banks traditionally have never done. So the best thing about it is actually it's bringing kind of modern development practices and the speed of that and the sensitivity to the actual user experience kind of very much to the fore. So I'm very excited to join Prodigy and be able to kind of bring that extra bit to Prodigy that everybody here has been amazingly focused on that, on the users continuously, but now they've explicitly hired me to carry that banner daily because they know it's important and somebody has to continually fight for that. So I think that's the main difference. If you look at traditional banks, they don't have that. They're worried about their products rather and kind of like from a business standpoint rather than like the user problem they're trying to solve first and foremost.
Amazing, thanks so much, Michael. Okay, Hallie, this one's for you, and it's from Shuran. Is the second year approval of the loan subject to my academic performance in the first year? And separately, same also from Shuran, can you tell me specifically what documents and details I need to provide for my second year?
Yeah, this is a good one, and as Joel mentioned, it's something that it's important for us to offer that second year pre-approval so that you know what funds we'll have on hold for you, but it's equally important for you to come back and kind of update your status with us and confirm your interest in taking those funds. And when you do that, we really try to slim down the amount of information that you would have to confirm for us. Most of those documents that you would provide at that stage really have to do with making sure that all of the financial details that we have for you are up to date. So the proof of saving would be an important one at that stage. We also require that you confirm for us any changes in your scholarship status or sponsorship status if you're company sponsored, and that you would be, yeah, I think I lost the train of the first part of your question, Marion. You asked me for the second year documents?
Yeah, is it subject to academic performance?
Apologies. Yeah, so the quick answer to this is no. So academic standing is not an important part of Prodigy's assessment of your ability to afford a loan. However, you do have to continue to be enrolled in the course. So most universities will have sort of a threshold at which they consider your academic standing to be jeopardizing your enrollment status. And that's really the only place where Prodigy takes a look at the academic standing that you hold. We need to make sure that you're going to be able to successfully continue towards graduation. But really the kind of performance that you have above that threshold is not critically important to us when we think about your ability to succeed in graduating and moving on to the next stage in your life.
I will only add, because I know there are some parents on the line, and as a parent, we do want to make sure that everyone is performing well in school. It is important. You are taking on a loan for school. This school program has the opportunity to change your life. So academics are still very important, even if it's not part of our underwriting process.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. I think Father's Day is coming up, Joel. Michael, this one's for you. We've actually had someone who might be interested in working at Prodigy Finance, and specifically about the product roles. So how can they go about getting a job in product at Prodigy?
So right now, I mean, I'm personally passionate about product. We're working very closely with engineering. So right now, almost all of our product roles are based, not so strangely, but out of our South Africa office in Cape Town. So I primarily, that's the first point that we go to, but I am, there are reasons why I would be interested in speaking with people who are interested in either New York or London as well. And so as I'm starting to understand, I'm 2 weeks in or 2 months in, so I'm starting to understand the structure of the product organization and whether or not that's possible, because there are different opportunities in different parts of the world. I'm still looking at that, but so if there's particularly great people who are interested in that kind of thing, I'd be interested in talking to you. And if it's not at Prodigy, there's, we've got plenty of contacts elsewhere as well.
Absolutely, and we have a careers page on our website. If you go to prodigyfinance.com/careers, you'll be able to see all the available job listings there. So if there's nothing in product right now, you can check back again soon.
Yeah, and soon be like a matter of weeks, because there are 2 product roles going up in a matter of weeks.
We are growing. Okay, cool. Joel, this one's for you. So how are loan currencies allocated, and do I have the ability to choose which currency my loan is offered in? That question just come through.
Super important. So majority of our loans are denominated in the currency of the country of study. So if you're coming to study in the US, you're going to be receiving a USD loan. We do have some schools in the UK and in Europe where you do have the opportunity to choose how you'd like to receive your loan. So for example, you do have the opportunity if you're attending London Business School or some of the schools in the UK, if you wanted to choose between a USD or a GBP loan. You can find all this information per school on our website under the find out more information section. You can actually take a look. We have a great map. You can pull up your school. There's specific school pages. So if you do want to see if you have some choice in currency denomination for your school, it's the fastest place to do it.
I can add to that a little bit. I spoke with someone last night actually, who said that one of the major considerations was that Prodigy actually did it in the currency of the school that they're going to, because they heard people who did it in their native original currency, and then that wasn't quite enough when they landed because of currency fluctuation. So it does increase risk a little bit at the end of the program, but it does actually ensure that what you're trying to accomplish is easier. So there's always just a trade-off there, but we think that generally speaking, the technique works absolutely best for our customers.
Great, thank you. Hallie, this question's for you, and it's from Mahu. I hope I pronounced that right. Now, they would like to know, can they postpone starting repayments by more time if they have not yet landed a good job in the US?
It's a really good question, and I know it's something that's on the minds of many people, particularly when they start those programs, but also those students who are just graduated or nearing graduation and are still looking for that right job. All of our loans for full-time students have a 6-month grace period from the time that classes end. So that means that automatically built into your loan with Prodigy Finance, if you're a full-time student, you'll have 6 months to kind of sort things out. Should you find yourself in a position where you just really haven't landed the job that you're hoping for within those 6 months after classes end, and you find that you'd like to see a little bit more time. On occasion, we have cases where we're able to work with students, and we're a human company. We put humans first, and we think a little bit about kind of the individuals in each situation. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you're early on communicating this scenario to our team. You can always reach out to our team, repayments at prodigyfinance.com. Also, you've got direct set of information on our website about that, but the key here is really to make sure that you're keeping Prodigy informed as to what your status is, and we work with students on a case-by-case basis, but it's rare that we find students not utilizing that 6-month grace period to kind of land jobs. So if that's a situation that you find yourself in, it's not a problem, just reach out to us, and we work with you on a case-by-case basis to determine what the best course of action is for you.
It's also worth encouraging everyone to check out Prodigy's website, because we do occasionally run seminars and things like that on helping you find jobs in countries that you might not be as aware of. And it's always just a little bit trickier to navigate in a new country.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Help you out with that.
There's actually a whole sort of alumni benefits and careers module being published on Prodigy's website as we speak. I think Marion and her team have been working hard at getting it ready for a launch next week, but it'll include a whole suite of materials that you can access to help you on that search if you find that you're looking for some additional resources to get you kick-started and finding that next job.
Okay, amazing. And I think we have just time for one more question before the end of our webinar. So I really want to focus on sort of the eligibility criteria and then the loan application process. So Joel, do you want to just give an overview for anyone who's listening before we close out the whole webinar on who is eligible for a loan and how to find out whether or not you're eligible?
Sure. So one thing that hasn't changed from the beginning of Prodigy is that we've set out to help the world's top talent achieve their academic goals. So what that means is that we focus on helping international students who are attending school outside of their home country. So if you are leaving your home country and looking to attend school elsewhere, you are the type of customers that we love to help. We support students have supported students from over 125 countries. We support schools all over the world, in the US, UK, rest of world, including Asia, even Costa Rica, if that's where you're looking at going. To date, we support programs all in postgraduate with regard to business schools, engineering schools, law schools, policy schools, most recently dental schools. There's a trove of information on the website, not only in the FAQs, but also there is a section where you can look up your school. So if you've already received admission or you're still kind of shopping around or doing some discovery work, possibly for next year, you can see all the schools that we support. You can see information with regard to the programs that we have at each school. Please do keep in mind that sometimes there are differences with regard to how the program is set up. For example, a US school may allow something different than a European school. So please do take a look at all those details. In addition, if you already have started an application and you have any questions, we do have live agents standing by. All you have to do is log into your application, click on the help button in the bottom right, and you can get some live chat help. You also can send emails in to info@Prodigy Finance. For those people participating, I know we still have a lot of people left on the line here. For those people participating today, you can just go ahead and throw the AMA tag in the subject line so that our service agents can go ahead and grab your message and get back to you as soon as possible. But please, if you do have questions, please reach out. If you do know of people that are looking to go to school, please share this amazing option with them. Our goal is to continue to support all the international students across the world. To date, we've been fortunate to help over 10,000 students, and we look forward to helping the next 100,000 students. So please do share the word. We grow as more students come on and more students succeed. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And the only thing I will add to that is that if you're interested in submitting an application to see what rate you could get, you're not bound by those terms of your provisional offer. Also, in submitting your provisional offer, you will get an instant response within a couple of minutes in most cases. So we do recommend that you at least go through that process to have a look at what you can get. And then additionally, just want to make sure that everyone's aware of some of the key benefits of going with Prodigy Finance. So we don't require cosigner or collateral. As Hallie said a bit earlier, you only need to start repaying 6 months after your class ends, so you have time to job hunt once you finish studying. There are no penalties for early repayment, so if you actually do have a job and want to start repaying early, that's absolutely fine. Sarah earlier and also Hallie today has spoken a little bit about our member benefits, and that includes career services after you finish graduating. And then finally, there's scholarships for our borrowers. So please do go to our website, have a look around, all the information you need is there. And if you do have a very specific question, email info@prodigyfinance.com. Joel, I think that's everything from my side. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I appreciate it. We've had a great time today. We've obviously heard from some speakers from all over the world. We've had our London office, our Cape Town office here in New York. We've also had folks join us in India, both in Bangalore and Delhi. We do have folks all over the world. Our teams are also constantly traveling throughout the world. We do have an events page, so if you ever want to see where we are, what's coming up, please do go to our website, check out our events page. You can come meet some folks. We also always have folks on the ground at schools. So if you're attending school starting this August, September, you'll probably see some of these smiling faces on your campuses. If you are in the cities where our offices are this summer, we're also always hosting events. So please do reach out. Everyone across the organization, all 150 plus of us, love working with students. We love talking to students. If you have questions, if your parents have questions, please do reach out. We appreciate everyone participating in our first ever live AMA. Based on the amazing number of students who are still here through the end, looks like this is just going to be the first of many, Marion.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We appreciate all the brilliant questions. Have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. Bye.